All right, backup recording devices going, and the live stream actually works. Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, it didn't last time. I would love to emphasize.
I know, that's what we did. We had a little issue.
All right, Sean, whenever you're ready.
Perfect. All right, so I'm call to order. I'm going to say the June Victoria Village Commission here. Our next business meeting will be Wednesday, June 26th, 2024, 12 noon at 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 205, which is the smaller room next door. And then our next hearing date will be Wednesday, July 10th, 2024 at 4 p.m., 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 204, the room that we're in. Want to swear to staff? Can you state your name?
Kimberly Bernard-Cheedy.
Perfect. Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
We want to swear in Jacqueline Bush.
Yes. Can you state your name?
Jacqueline myself.
Perfect. Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. All right, introduction of commissioners present. I will start with our Commissioner of Honor today.
Jeffrey Hissa.
Perfect.
Pete Schuler.
Melinda Shaw.
Reed Sprite.
Tim Skinner. Sean Conyers. All right, Kimberly, do you want to do anything from an overview of the hearing format?
I'll give the hearing format overview real quick. So we've got some unfamiliar faces.
Understandable.
So how this goes is the city staff, which is me, will present the application, and then the applicant and or owners will be sworn in and asked to present any additional materials if needed. Registered speakers will be sworn in and provided 3 minutes to speak each if we have any. And then the commissioners will discuss the case and ask questions as needed. And if anybody is continued today, you have a week from today to submit for the July hearing.
Perfect. Thank you, Kimberly. All right, there's no public forum today, right?
No public forum.
Okay. Approval of the staff approvals. Is there a motion, team?
Motion for approval of staff approvals.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so Kimberly, you want to run down through those and see if there's any abstentions at all?
All right, if you want to follow along, they start on page 7 with 61 to 63.5 West Star Avenue, 85 to 87 West Hubbard Avenue, 705 Dennison Avenue, 1136 Neal Avenue, 54 West 3rd Avenue, 1220 to 1222 Harrison Avenue, 601 North High Street, 800 Neal Avenue, 1226 Highland Street, 231 West Hubbard Avenue, 318 Buttles Avenue, 325 West First Avenue, 34 West Poplar Avenue, specifically number 204, 1064 Highland Street, 755 Dennison Avenue, and the Cap Goodell Street between Park Street and High Street.
Thank you, Kimberly. Is there approval of the minutes from the May 8th hearing? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve May minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion at all on the minutes? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. So Kimberly, I kick it over to you for staff recommendation or recommended applications.
All right, we will start with application number 1, which is 916 to 918 Harrison Avenue. If the applicant is here, please feel free to come up as I'm reading through this. This application is to remove the existing concrete stairs and replace them with concrete stairs, bringing the stairs up to current code. That would bring the new tread, riser, and distance from the sidewalk into code, and doing so alter the existing porch landing by removing a 10-inch and 10 3/4 inch cut to allow for the new stairs, and the existing handrail would remain. Commissioners at the business meeting requested confirmation of what is happening to the landing. They were curious if it'll be repoured or how taking a step out would occur. They also expressed worry if the landing was hollow or a solid pour. Additional photos were requested of the landing and sides of the existing steps. Commissioners want to know how the proposed steps will be finished on the sides or what the condition will be once they're finished. Staff recommends approval of the application with the conditions that if the steps are hollow, appropriate plans are submitted to staff detailing construction of the modification, and clarification is submitted on the side finish for the stairs. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11 and standards for alteration.
Thank you, Kimberly. Can you state your name, sir, get you sworn in?
James Kress.
Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Perfect. Just any thoughts on the application that you want to share?
I think biggest thing, I'm not looking to report these for any other reason really than tenant safety. It's a rental. They are heavily sloped downwards with up to, I think the smallest shred could be like 7 inches. So it's tough. And then the winter, it's a life safety hazard in my opinion, and opens myself up to liability for slip and falls. So we looked at other ways to just try and modify the existing and not having to rapport them, but there just wasn't any way to do that. So it was, okay, if we're going to rapport them, then bring it up to code, which just meant kind of shifting where the stairs start, that roughly 10 3/4 inches back. So that way we could have same treads all the way throughout and have the appropriate 9 inches between the last step in the sidewalk.
Perfect. Would you be able to touch on a little bit of some of the things that came up in the business meeting that I think that Kimberly got touched on in terms of, how the slab, is going to be dealt with, if a notch is taken out, and what those transition conditions could be?
Yeah, so I talked with the contractor about that at length. Chris Rue, he said said to mention his name, he's done plenty of work. I'm sure that's what every contractor says. But anyway, where they will cut out, I think it'll go down about, sorry, I'm just looking at the riser here, about 7 inches. So it really shouldn't impact the landing much. We'll just kind of cut into it 10 inches, 10 3/4 inches back, 7 inches down. We will do a skim coat over the top of the porch landing, just so that way everything, the concrete, you don't have concrete that looks 50 years old and then concrete that looks fresh. And then that way it'll also fill in any cracks. It's all minor in nature up there. Nothing that we felt needed the whole porch landing to be repoured, but could use a refresh and just kind of grinding out the pieces where it started to crack and water's gotten in. So that was the plan for the porch landing. For the stairs, his plan was to just rip them out and repour them completely. So just knock whatever, so as far as he doesn't think that they're hollow, or at least that he doesn't think the landing's hollow, just given there's no room underneath it, there's no ventilation coming in. And honestly, he was like, if it is, that probably makes my job maybe even a little bit easier, because I don't have to cut down as far. And then the new stairs would be solid, or with all the appropriate stone and everything filling it in.
Okay, very good. Awesome.
And I think the other question was just the sides of the stairs, concrete, it'll match the sides of the porch. I'd sent some additional pictures after, but just so that way, just like a stucco-like finish, so it matches what was already there and it'll all be consistent.
Awesome. Okay. Open up to commissioner comments.
So in this meeting, what we had, the question was, is that stone or is that laid brick? What is that? The facade behind those stairs.
Right, there's the images, it says the current condition images, so from that far left.
Yeah.
It's kind of small.
Far left top.
Yeah, so we were just trying to understand the materiality of, I want to say, the skirt of the porch.
It is, so you're talking like the walls of the porch, or?
So we get it that it's a rental. We get it, you're trying to maintain
Yeah.
your cost. But what does that plinth that whole building sits on? What is the facade of that? Is that just stone?
Yeah,
Is
so
it concrete block?
The house itself sits on sandstone at the foundation. Then the whole porch itself is all concrete, and it looks like there may be some concrete block just based on, if you look at kind of that top picture, it's kind of,
Yeah, the
That
top picture looks like stone, but the detailed pictures look like.
yeah, it's not stone. It's concrete, because it just looks, there's cracks and,
Block, look at the, if you go to street view, that looks like,
Yeah.
that's.
So I guess what is the current condition?
It's,
Does it look,
it's a concrete block.
is it acceptable? Is it not acceptable? Putting money into this building, what are we doing?
I would say if you go to, do you have the additional photos?
I don't believe I added those in,
Okay.
which.
I was gonna say, there was a good picture of what the sides of the porch look like now compared to that.
So I think what we're trying to do too is just trying to, I guess, look at this holistically from that perspective. I mean, I think to Jeff's point, I think we understand the life safety components of this, but as you start to introduce the new, is it appropriate to just kind of leave behind, the balance of it? So not saying necessarily stay and replace the entire porch itself, but is there a possibility of extending a few dollars to be able to improve the balance of the skirt? I think that's
That
what we're-
give somebody these pictures and you can pass it around. I think this,
As long as it's okay with the commission.
yeah, that's,
Because I mean, now we see this picture where you definitely see the water table wrap around and connect to the porch.
that picture. I'll see if I got one on my phone that you could zoom in a little bit better.
And is it more so like, just kind of thinking about, like the water damage and such that, that the skirt or the existing skirt has taken, over the years. We understand it's concrete block, but, when you kind of zoom in on the images, you can kind of see those conditions a little bit better.
Yep.
So I guess we were just trying to understand survivability, maintenance ability of that. Is this the right time to address it holistically? That's what we are kind of talking.
Yeah, so I did go over that with the con, because I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna put a Band-Aid on it just for 2 years down the road, have to put in more money.
Yeah.
The base of the porch, he felt was good. He did, fresh concrete all the way around. There was only really one area where there was, I'd say, like deterioration, like a dent into the porch, but it was maybe an inch.
So when you say fresh concrete, has there been like a skim coat that's been
Yeah.
applied to the skirt?
You'll see it coming around.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like a park coming on.
Okay, gotcha.
So the Google view is old.
Okay.
Correct.
It's been arched already.
It's been part, okay. Got it, okay. That's helpful.
I think
Very
it's
good.
image, because
I'll
Google's.
pass one of yours. Thank you, sideways, so thank you, sir.
So that's also what the sides of the stairs would then, same finish, that way it kind of all flows and looks the same.
Alright. So I think obviously he's clarified.
It's your phone.
No. it's the same.
Okay.
Just want that.
Where did the phone come?
Alright, so we have, I think that the couple of things that were, the skirt, the existing skirt, I think clarity on that, so we understand that now, it's been already parged. We understand the stairs, what the makeup of the stairs will be, 4 concrete in total, still parged on the sides from that perspective, right? And then the existing slab will be cut, but the existing slab will be parged as well, or a topping coat applied to the entire top slab. I still don't understand those transitions, but I guess
That's,
Yeah, I'm still concerned about cutting into the slab and what's under it. 'Cause
Right.
It's not gonna be solid concrete.
yeah.
Block on the outside, yeah. I'd be very surprised.
So,
But cut it open and find out.
right, I think that's the kind of the means and methods of it is, I think that the only thing that we probably can do is just maybe vote on what we think the conditions will be. As the application has been offered. And then if the applicant can't achieve what he's proposed, then it's his responsibility to come back, right? If you run into any issues. Is that appropriate to you?
it's fine.
Okay.
So
Any additional clarification that we need that? Okay.
Is the railing being supposed to be redone as part of this so it matches the slope of the handrails? Because otherwise.
They're gonna, for it to match. He said he would match it with the existing rail. I asked that as well.
So the existing rail is freestanding right now, so it'll remain as is.
Yeah,
not-
and it'll kind of still slope the same. We're just kind of pushing it all back so that it's just the treads are all different. That's for like some I've got 10.5, 11 inches, and then one I've got 7.5. And the problem is just the stairs themselves are sloped like this, so it just, you start walking down and it brings you down with it in a hurry.
Awesome.
If you can zoom in on the current condition at first page, the middle left image. The other thing that's looking a little bit weird is there's kind of a faux cap condition with the decking there, the top slab, where the stairs interface with that.
Yeah, the railing isn't
Little-
compliant, so.
I mean, there's just a bunch of weird details.
Yes, yeah.
And, you know, I see it's parched, I see it's painted. Is the paint color the same color or close to the water table? When they skim the top of this, I mean, you know, overall, I mean, this could either look really great, or it could look like a rental property that someone just fixed the safety issues and moved on. And I'm not seeing the detail that I think you guys need to go further. And as we treat everyone the same, it's just, I'm not seeing information that substantiates what's gonna happen.
Understandable.
So there's a couple of things that stand out to me that, and I guess Kimberly, did you try to research any historic photos of this building?
I don't think there's too many available in the file. If I remember correctly from doing the staff report, we don't have anything that goes back showing a different set of like stairs and a landing.
Yeah, I mean, because what I'm getting at is that this appears not to be original, right? If you look at the
It's not
facade of the building, well, there's that, right? The concrete block as well. The facade of the building, you know, implies there's something else going on, possibly a covered porch even, but I think we need to understand the context, but I mean, there's no photos, but I guess we're still limited, but,
I think there are opportunities here.
right. I mean, I was just whispering to Melinda here, I was like, did you consider turning the stairs 90 degrees and having them go parallel with the sidewalk? So that you didn't have to cut into the porch and could get the rise and run that you need?
We did look at that. Facing the building, left side, you'd be in the middle of the alley. Right side, I guess you could kind of come like this and do a 90-degree angle towards it to get there.
Yeah, I'm just making sure we've got it all out.
Yeah, we did look at that, and then it was side by side, then having to only one and having to walk by the other unit and the front windows and everything like that. But not that that's the end of the world, but it was one of the things that was considered.
I'm having trouble reading the team over here, so.
I'm just curious, because they're gonna cut off the top of the slab, it's gonna be hollow, and then what's the plan?
Right.
Right, I mean, I understand that the contractor thinks otherwise, yeah.
I'm
I think the
concerned about
contractor-
the railing too, because the railing's not gonna pass inspection. It's not code compliant.
Right.
It's not gonna match the slope of the new stairs. It doesn't have the graspability requirements.
Right. So I'm writing things down. Keep anything else, Pete, from that perspective that you can see that you're troubled by or that you think that you need additional clarity on? Okay. Anything, Tim?
Yeah, anything more as well.
Okay.
Sure.
So I guess the concerns in terms of details of the railing, I mean, Melinda has a great point that I know the contractor mentioned that the hope is that, you know, but with the new work, it probably will be inspected.
Yeah.
And so just being able to address that and what that kind of condition may do.
Because it's not code compliant now. As soon as you have it inspected, they're gonna flag it.
Got it.
So that, I mean, that's a great point. And then the transition at the slab, I think that pretty much all of us had that same, that's what came up in the business meeting. It's kind of that transition there. Is there a possibility of being able to get some additional detail, related to that? We don't really necessarily want to say, hey, you got to pour the entire slab, but it seems like that's kind of potentially what may happen if you start to cut and all of a sudden that is all hollow, which it should be hollow.
Mhm.
So how is that transition being accomplished? I think that's the concern here. The integrity of, in the future, that thing falling, so that you think about it, it's like a small slab that's depressed, that's new. So with the compaction over time, will you, as the homeowner, start to run into issues with that falling and now opening up that gap between the existing slab that is no longer, I want to say supporting, right? Because it's not bearing on the outside perimeter, right? So I think what we're trying to do is guide you through, I guess, some of the other questions that you may want to ask the contractor to give you a better sense of comfort, which ultimately, if you have a better sense of comfort on some of these questions, we would too as well. Is that kind of?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think I can ask him what his plan B would be
Okay,
if it is hollow and then
okay,
follow back up on that.
okay.
I mean, realistically, if there isn't, I guess I have the option to just leave it as is, correct?
Understood, yes, but
Okay.
I think that what you're doing though to resolve the egress issue, I think that that's something that you probably are probably gonna wanna work through. It's just how to accomplish that is what we're asking. We're not trying to deter you from, being able to resolve the problem. We just wanna make sure that you're taking the steps that you're gonna be happy with the end solution.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I totally appreciate it. It's
Yeah.
just, I get to some point where, and I don't mind putting money into the property, that's
Sure.
not an issue. I'm not trying to be slumlord or
No.
do it the cheapest way, but there comes to a point where if it's gonna cost X, it may not make sense to do it, and at that point.
Yeah.
Do I just sell it and move on and let somebody else, maybe who's gonna live there and be willing?
That's,
That's where I guess that's where just my head's at.
and
that's all.
I understand it. Yeah, that's not what
Yeah,
we're.
no, I appreciate that.
So I just wanted to be sure.
Yep.
That's clear. I just, again, you're making an investment, we want to make sure that it's just done right.
Yeah.
That's.
No, that's all
fair.
fair. I get that.
Okay. So, there was one other item I think that Tim mentioned is the transition, related to the existing slab and its overhang with the stair. That's not graphically shown as far as that section or detail. So if he did, or the contractor, he or she was able to kind of start to maybe offer a little bit, they do a great job at illustrating. They don't have to be perfect drawings. Just being able to walk us through some of those things, I think that would be helpful.
Do you understand?
Yeah, if you could clarify that.
You can see the slab here, and that little bit of reveal relative to the wall.
Yep.
As soon as you cut this stare out, that relationship between this and the stair is going to change. And I think you're gonna find there's gonna be a weird connection there that needs to be addressed somehow.
Gotcha.
Would a core sample be? I love that it's in
Let him, let the kind of
Yeah,
propose that.
I was thinking, I think, but it's on.
Yeah, I mean, you even said it in a nutshell, you're putting a new slab on top of this slab, and it will have to have some kind of footer or some kind of support to hold its integrity.
So what we're thinking about doing is just continuing the conversation. And so we'll continue the application, and that will give you an opportunity to go back with the contractor and get some of the other questions asked and answered.
Yep.
We're not trying to,
No,
it's not from that perspective, and hopefully you can be back on the agenda for next with some of this clarity, if that's, okay.
When is that?
So the deadline is a week from today to get additional.
Yeah, okay.
Documents
I
in.
might see you at the one after that, though.
Okay, so let's go ahead. So is there a motion to continue the application, team?
Motion to continue VV 24 06 019 916 to 918 Harrison Avenue.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's continued. So, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
and, so for Claire, so for the follow-up, where that kind of little curb meets the stair, clarity on that, clarity on Plan B, what if this is hollow, what are we gonna do? And then handrail, which is
Exactly.
probably just means replacement. But, okay,
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
All right, moving on to application number 2, 851 Neal Avenue. This application is to add a new wrought iron fence with gate on top of the previous approved retaining wall and along the front yard. The commissioners at the business meeting wanted to know how far back the proposed fence goes from the stone. This can either be noted on the drawings or an updated drawing provided. They also wanted the height of the fence confirmed as well as the combined height of the fence and retaining wall. The applicant has clarified that the fence would be matching is 28 inches above the ground, and the wall was approved at 21 inches for a combined height of 49 inches total. Staff recommends approval of the application with the condition that the updated drawing be submitted to staff prior to issuance of the certificate. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.13, the standards for site improvements.
Thank you, Kimberly. Can you state your name, sir, and get you sworn in?
Yes, I'm Jesse Bianconi.
Perfect. Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Anything that you need to add for the application?
I don't think so.
Perfect. That's pretty cut and dry, so that's awesome. Okay, so, I know we had some questions on the business meeting. It seems like all of those things are there. So,
I think we're good to go.
yeah,
So I think just to confirm
Yeah.
the setback from the retaining wall, I mean, I didn't see that in
Yeah.
inches. I saw it directly behind, was the note.
Yeah.
Am I missing something or is that just not specified yet?
It just says directly.
Yeah, I mean, it would be as close as possible within to be able to have the
So I know
integrity of
we
it.
tend to encourage the fence to be a little bit farther back so you can maybe get plantings in between and not make it, you know, kind of a fortress type setup. You know, I guess we're kind of where we're at. I wasn't at the business meeting, so I'll filter that, but
Yeah.
that would be, there's already plantings right there along the retaining wall now. I would encourage the fence to be on the back side of that.
So what was can you repeat what the total height?
49 inches.
Because that is something that we have
Yeah.
been challenging.
yeah.
Um, It's an interpretation of that total height that, yeah, I think it would be much better condition if it were set back.
Yeah, it should set right behind the tree.
Minimize, one, I think just constructability, two, I think to minimize that. Because our goal is, I know we recognize there are a lot of conditions throughout the neighborhood that do this. But our concern is we get so many properties that have this very imposing kind of right on the sidewalk, total height of wall and fence together, kind of look at them together. So this strategy of setting that fence back a little bit just helps to ease that visual barrier between the public face and the property.
So, what would you suggest? What the distance to set it back?
Behind your existing plantings.
Yeah, I think that would be a nice solution, and I mean, I think it would be appropriate where you have two plus feet there to kind of knock down that edge and still achieve the enclosure that you're looking for.
And it may work better with the stairs, because right now you've got it's stepping back to have the gate, right? Now you maybe that you want to push it a little farther, and then it's all one face, but I don't know that this is a good thing either, but, you know, that play with the stair, how the stairs are, is something worth considering.
So what do you think?
In order to get it approved, if I have to move it back, we have to do that.
Okay. So can we give them a range or we want to give, you know, because I guess, I think I would rather give them the homeowner a range.
Yeah.
So then that way if they run
I
into
think that's
any
fine.
issues, then that way they can, you know, accomplish it. So, you know, 18 to 24.
Yeah,
And
sure.
then just,
So
you
that
know,
for
let them
planting
figure
bed.
out exactly, is that kind of a better solution? Or just to give them some flexibility.
Wasn't that like 18 to 36, that gives them
I think 3 is too strong. I think 3 is too strong in the property. I think stepping back, I think it's a little beneficial, but I think 3 is too strong.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
It's good because it's funny because I actually wanted to be able to plant plants in front, and my husband was like, "No, let's put it as close to the."
You win.
Exactly.
Things work out.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a motion team?
And I will note, I will want updated drawings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so I can stamp those and that way we've got kind of everything. This is what it's supposed to look like.
Like the overlay drawing, like the bird's eye view that shows it
That's
back a
part of
little
it.
bit.
As well as what, I'll want to know kind of what you're planting in there, that way. we
Okay.
have
Yeah.
an idea of what it's supposed to look like.
Or if it's just the same plantings.
I think we're planning on just keeping the tulips. That was if we got to keep them,
If it
but yeah.
changes,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
circle back.
we'll keep it in there.
All right. Is there a motion then?
Motion for BB 24 06 020 851 Neal Avenue as approved with, as submitted with the condition that the fence is set back from the ball, range of 18 to 24 inches.
18 to 24. Okay, great.
And then updated plans are submitted.
And updated plan, thank you, updated plans are submitted to staff.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to application number 3. This is 174 West 4th Avenue. The application is to remove the existing rear deck, construct a single-story addition measuring approximately 12 feet by 8 inches by 14 feet 8 inches. The addition will have a flat roof, a single double hung window on the east elevation and 2 double hung windows on the west elevation. Siding is to be hardy board and batten with a 12-inch spacing. Windows would be Marvin Ultimate, door would be full light Vistagrams fiberglass, and siding to be smooth hardy panel vertical siding. I have included the commissioner comments from the May 8th hearing. Commissioners at the business meeting were curious if the existing piping downspout across the rear of the house would be cleaned up with the new addition. They requested a full site plan with property line, sidewalk, driveway, etc. If any other improvements such as landscaping were going to be happening, they would prefer to review it along with the addition. The applicant did confirm, and those drawings should be included in the materials. Staff recommends approval of the application with any and all clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff prior to issuance of a certificate. Basis for recommendation is City Code 3116.11, the standards for alteration. City Code 3116.12, standards for new construction. Victorian Village guidelines regarding new construction.
Awesome. Thank you, Kimberly. Can you guys state your name and get you sworn in?
Pete Foster?
Lily Steckman?
Okay, do you both agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. So anything that you're gonna add to the application?
Really, I mean, we just sort of, took into consideration the conversation we had the last time we were here and we made the appropriate adjustments and so we're back.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, sir. So I think that when the business meeting, I think the question about the downspout, I think that was just the mindset was probably uncovered. And so I think that's what the team kind of understood that could be. But anything else in terms of, I think everything that was a concern has been addressed. As far as the landscaping that was there, that was being proposed, I just want to give Tim a moment just to be able to just digest that and ask any questions on that.
Yeah.
That was it. That's all.
So very clear plan on general material. Everything's kind of listed as existing. Oh,
That's just a concrete patio and a concrete sidewalk is what we're going with. There's an existing paver walk in the front and that walk breaks off to the right and goes down the east side of the house until it hits the gate. And then we were going to transition to a concrete, the desire is to transition to concrete.
Okay. That transition would happen where the dash line is right behind the fence.
Right,
As you-
behind the gate.
As you go plan north.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
all right.
Awesome. Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion on application -24-05-017, 174 West Fourth Avenue, to approve as submitted.
And does that include the updated landscaping?
Yes, including the updated landscaping.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thanks.
but
All right, moving on to application number 4, 755 Dennison Avenue and 217 Buttles Avenue. This application is to add the stone border against the sidewalk. I included the commissioner comments from the May 8th hearing. Commissioners at the business meeting requested the proposed plans submitted for review. A photo or cut sheet or the product sheet should be submitted prior to the hearing. Commissioners requested confirmation that the stone ends would turn into the yard or just be flat. HBO staff had to double check the emails to confirm the information had already been provided. The applicant had informed HBO of the following. The plan is to shoot for a 4-inch border. This would provide a sufficient barrier to stop mulch and dirt from spilling onto the sidewalk, but also small enough to fade into the background when moving on the property. The plan will be to have a return at the same stone at these areas to the depth of the bed, which is approximately 36 inches, at the same 4-inch height of border. No final decision has been made on plant material, but it would be a low profile flowing. Like, I'm going to butcher this, so lily rope type of plant that will stay green most or all of the year and require little maintenance. It should also flow over the border a bit further, obscuring the border profile. The applicant has said that they will work with the landscaper to determine the actual variety because they need something very hardy for the space. And the applicant has submitted the following addresses of examples where this type of condition has been previously approved, which include a 2-inch tall border at 251 Buttles, which there's no approval for the stone, but it was installed between 1998 and 2007 based on pictures in the file in Google Street View. 663 Dennison Avenue has a 2.5, 4.5 inches tall wall, and it's a retaining wall approved in 2014. 693 Dennison Avenue has a wall that's 4.5 inches tall. No COA available, but the stone's been there since 1989. 710 Neal Avenue has a 13-inch retaining wall. No COA available, but the retaining wall was added sometime between 2011 and 2014 based on Google Street View. The 716 Neal Avenue has a 10-inch high stone wall. No COA is available, but it's been there since 1989. 740 Neal Avenue has an 11-inch tall stone wall. There's no COA, but the retaining wall was added sometime between 2011 and 2014, again, based on Google Street View. 754 Neal Avenue has an 8.5 inches tall wall. There was an update to the landscaping approved in December of 2002. And then 775 Neal Avenue, which was provided, which is the CVS located just outside of Victorian Village. That's on the opposite side of the The staff recommends continuation of the application to allow for the applicant to revise the application to better follow code guidelines. Basis for staff recommendations, City Code 3116.13 standards for site improvements, as well as the Victorian Village guidelines on fences and yards, and City Code 3116.11, the standards for alteration.
Thanks, Kimberly. Can you state your name, sir?
Jason Henry.
Perfect. Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. All right, Jason. I'll just turn it over to you.
Nothing really to add. I mean, unless you have questions. I mean, it's, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think most of the questions have been answered with the returns. So if you guys, anyone has questions, I'm happy to. Field it.
Awesome. So Kimberly, just kind of think about this. So is the staff recommendation just because of the clarity of, I guess, the application as it relates to the wall and not having the other, I want to say, supporting elements regarding the vegetation and landscaping to holistically have an understanding of that?
I put some additional clarification on material as well as the plants.
Because I know the material was brought, I mean, this is only because of the application is kind of continued a little bit. So I think we did have the material brought I think, a physical sample that was here. I think everybody felt comfortable with the physical stone. I think it was just a more so the relationship of when we saw the image that the height was in the sample image before these other examples. I think it's like, it was the one, I think it was the.
Is that the Columbus Club?
The
It
two
looked like
main
8
things-
inches.
the two main things were we saw the material
Right,
and our question was, what was the height? And did
Did it
that
return?
actually return?
right.
Those were the only clarifications I thought were pertinent to order and site.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I just wanted to verify and confirm that those things that you were looking for to be able to offer some additional recommendation, if we could solve them through those means. Okay, all right.
With the return, is the intention to maintain the 4 inches or let it kind of die back into?
I would think it probably die, because the yard slopes up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it would probably just be to kind of die into it, just to, just enough though, because sometimes it'll end on a driveway. And so just enough so it kind of slopes back and doesn't let stuff slop over.
No, I think that's good.
Yeah.
So appropriate.
I know we did have a concern about the transition between the sidewalk and the block. Was that resolved at any point?
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah, it's just-
it was texture edge on side versus top that.
I think, are you talking about the stone up against the sidewalk and the contraction? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just some sort of like, not a landscaper, but I'm looking at some of the other ones. They just have like aggregate in there, like a sand or maybe like because you put a concrete in, it's just gonna pop. So there can't be really anything gluing it or holding it. It's gotta be something in there. And most of what I've seen on those things are just some sort of sand or.
Well, are you doing the textured face out toward the sidewalk? So that is a difference, I think, that we see in the other pictures as an example. They're all smooth faced so that transition is tight to the sidewalk versus if the textured side of the block is there, it's gonna be an uneven.
Yeah, I mean, the textured side would be out and the flat would be on top, but the texture, as you may remember, is fairly minimal.
So with that, probably a little bit of clarity intended, because there will be a joint there that will need to happen, won't be a bud. So just to get clarity on what that consistent joint is, the material that goes in
But
there.
I don't think there would be a joint. I think it's more of just some sort of like sand or something in there, because it's not gonna be, once it's pushed forward, you have 4 inches below, it's gonna be pushed up against that sidewalk with the yard, essentially, the dirt pushing it that way. And so whatever small,
Well, it still is a joint, it's 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, that's what I'm
Right.
saying, it's a huge gap, but just clarity on what that is.
Basically, when you pour the sidewalk, there's something that's gonna be in between, right? I think that's what we're getting at. You can't put sand in first and then pour the sidewalk, right? So how does that happen when the block goes in and then the concrete gets poured? What is that's in between to handle that? Right?
but I mean, I think it'd be similar to like when you lay pavers. You throw that sand down and you brush it around and it kind of gets in there. Same with this. The sidewalk's gonna be done probably later this month. And then when we get to do the border, put the stones in and then just push up like whatever that, sand or whatever, and then kind of brush it in, just same as you would do.
So you're doing the sidewalk first then?
Yeah,
So clarity on
So,
those, I think, I guess the returns was the big one, the transitions and then the height, I think, so.
Yep.
And then the material, in terms of materials, we've seen it, but being able to understand what faces smooth, what faces textured up against what. And then is there a way to be able to clarify that sand will resolve the variation in the sidewall to the front face of the retaining wall?
Yeah, I think I agree that it's much like a paper joint
Right.
that you're gonna move up with. So
Mhm.
just, I think just submitting what that selected material is to the staff.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, something other than sand. I mean, like when I go to the person that's doing it, like what exactly are you putting in there? Because I'm.
Yeah, because even if it's sand, like what's the color of the stone, it's like, yeah, it's just clarity, full clarity, what that is.
Kimberly, have we addressed some of the uncertainty that you had, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. So I would love to try to move this one forward, just with that clarity, and then almost kind of give it back to you for, is that okay?
That's fine.
Application
We are
standpoint?
fine. Stand as part of the subcommittee review.
Okay, do you want a subcommittee review?
If anybody wants to see it, I'm okay with it, but I'm also okay with taking it.
Okay, okay. So, moving it forward, obviously, I think some of the clarifications that he's offered, I think makes sense. And then any of that documentation will be submitted to staff to kind of finalize the application. Do you feel as though the staff can review this, or does anyone want to see it from the standpoint of a subcommittee?
I don't see it. I don't think we just.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Okay,
Okay,
then, so I've been sanded.
I will be here.
yeah.
I was gonna say you can't call it.
The sand is one, and then the final selection of fluoride B is just, again, I think any fluoride B that you throw in there is gonna be fine, but probably just clarify that with staff as well, just to complete the application.
Okay. So color this, like, actually what kind of sand it is, what color it is, and just pick a IP and put it into the application. Okay. And then, so I'm assuming assuming it gets approved on the staff level, you just shoot me an email and it wouldn't make it to the next meeting, right? Is that the intent? Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I'll also need just a photo of the statement, because I was a little confused if you were gonna use that one or if the new one needed to be selected.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to have you carry it back down here. So a photo will do, and just as a heads up, if you have some additional materials to submit, I'm keeping an eye on the email, but I was out for a little bit, so I'm running behind, more so than usual.
Okay.
All right, so can we, is there a motion to? Just, we'll try to outline some of the clarifications that were kind of offered today.
Motion for BB-24-05-04, 755 Denison Avenue. Approval as submitted with the following conditions: that a photo of the selected stone is provided, the selected sand joint material information is provided, and the final selection of plant species in the bed is submitted, all submitted to staff for their review.
Did you wanna, with the returns, do you wanna say anything from the transition?
Yeah, I think, yes, that the clarification has provided that the intention is for the 4 inches of the revealed stone per rail transition to or near flush with grade as it makes its way to the back of the return.
Awesome. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion, team? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, sir.
Do you want me to write in that where it dies into the yard? You guys are gonna write that into the continuation. Should I write that into the stuff I submit as well? Or is once it's in the, do I need to communicate that or not?
I don't think so. I think we clarified it would be part of the.
That's correct.
The motion. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Although I might have to say, since it's not redone, since Tim's been doing all these motions, someone else might have to do it the next time they get a break.
The last one,
Yeah, I agree.
the awkward pause.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, application number 5, 111 Price Avenue. This application is to replace the existing front doors with Palmer Donovan fiberglass wrap doors and a full glass skylight. Replace the metal full light doors in the kitchen and dining room with Palmer Donovan fiberglass wrap full doors. The commissioners at the business meeting noted that the proposed skylight created an odd symmetry in the facade, and the applicant clarified that other houses along Price Avenue also have doors that are offset, and they did provide some example photos. The houses along Price Avenue need consistency, as noted at the business meeting, but they could have individuality. Commissioners would need to discuss how to best balance that. The property was constructed in 1978 and is considered historic by the Historic Preservation Office. As such, it is our recommendation that the original doors are retained as they are contributing architectural feature. Staff recommends continuation of the application to allow for the applicant to revise the application to better follow code guidelines. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11, the standards for alteration, as well as the Victorian Village guidelines regarding windows and doors.
Thank you, Kimberly. Can you state your names? Can you sworn in?
Tracy Harrison.
Josh Wood?
Do you both agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so I'll turn it over to you guys for any thoughts on the application from staff's recommendation.
Well, I thought we should be able to install the door that we provided. There's one door across the street that matches the doors that are there. The others have been changed. So, and I'm not quite 50 years old, so claiming that it's historic feels to me kind of like a stretch, but in 1979, we're just under the 50 years, but that's what I have to say.
Anything else?
In terms of the living there, I mean, the doors are wood and require a lot of sanding and refinishing. I've done it once so far since I've lived there in the last 7 years, and it needs done again. The swelling of the doors in the summer and the draftiness in the winter make it challenging, especially in the winter when it's cold, because they're just, they're just not sealed well because of the way the two wood doors fit together. So it's not only just an aesthetic thing for me, it's also a functional thing that I would like to change as well.
Very helpful. Thank you. All right, team. Any thoughts on the application? I think the recommend this one is, we remember talking about part for price and the variety of the conditions along the streetscape, everything to help maintain it. But just any thoughts?
Well, I think it's interesting. I think if you look at it in context and then you look at Price Avenue, where it's going, I think the new townhouses down the street have doors similar, side light with horizontal paneling. I think what we're doing on the corner with the new thing, I think, I mean, the only saving grace in this is I think the wood door, but I don't think that's, when you look at the other side lights, I think.
And I want the door to still look like it's wood. Walnut color, finish the same way this one, but obviously a steel door, just for the safety aspects of it, as well as the insulation piece of it. So I want to have that same look, but just with a more efficient door.
Understandable. Good. Any other thoughts? I know there was some mixed conversation about, retaining two doors, if it's appropriate for a door and a side light within the existing opening, no modification of the existing opening off. As far as the cut sheet and the materiality, I mean, I know that, fiberglass door that look like wood sometimes is beneficial. I don't know this necessarily this product well enough to know, but just trying to get some dialogue on where the thing should hit.
The hard thing is the guidelines don't allow the front doors to be anything but wood right now. So if we were to approve it, I don't know on what basis we could approve it.
My concern is also similar about precedent here, right? I mean,
Yeah.
To their point, it's 1978 house, it's still within the parameters of what is considered a contributing structure, right?
Yeah.
How is this any different than 1910 door that somebody wants to change, right? From the code perspective, or from the guidelines perspective?
I mean, I think it's an interesting point about price and being a bit having its own sub-character. I think I would need to see the inventory of that complete character to.
I mean, I lived across the street
That way.
and I sanded and oiled 120 Price Avenue until it made me sick. Horrible doors and the wind
Yeah.
went through them.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, the last guy that sanded said, I'm not doing it again.
I
Yeah.
get where you come.
Yeah.
So Kimberly, can you talk us through your determination on timing, just to address the applicant's question about, this 50-year mark and such? Can you clarify that?
It considers historic 40 years.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, we address this question too. Okay. All right.
Is that clearly stated on the website?
It's in city code.
Oh.
Okay. All right, so I think the inventory would be a better approach to be able to understand what we're evaluating against, given the nature of the context. I mean, Melinda and Reed, I completely agree in terms of precedence, what the code says, and I think that's really why Kimberly is kind of outlining that. And so I think what we're thinking is there a possibility to get a better understanding of the inventory along the price that you guys are evaluating against? Meaning that if there's some photographs of the different properties, we want to maintain some consistency, giving from that perspective, that would help us. I think it's materiality. I think it's composition of the doors as well.
Yeah.
Just to understand what your property is being evaluated against as it relates to the context, as well as trying to upload the code.
So the 4 pictures that I submitted are 4 doors across the street. How many would you like?
I guess, so the one big difference you'll notice is those are all maintaining a solid wood door with a traditional panel design, which is vastly different than the door. you
No, the
put.
one, that first one with the big side light that they changed, that's a steel door. That's catty corner to my house.
So do we know if it had a COA?
I do not.
And I haven't, I mean, it's been there since I've been there. I've been there 7 years. He hasn't changed it since.
Sure.
The people that live directly across the street from me have a steel door, but their door does not face the street. It faces, you kind of walk to the side. I did not include that as a picture because they have they had 2 doors just like mine, and they have now 1 door with 2 side lights. So I just didn't include that picture because at the time you were really looking for precedent around 1 door and 1 side light. But I could give you that picture as well.
So the cut sheets both say fiberglass for both doors. So are you proposing steel or fiberglass?
It's a fiberglass, right?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, that's what, okay.
Just checking.
So I guess, seeing that they've offered, there's still uncertainty in information. I guess what I would love to try to get that cleaned up as part of that, just to be able to help the conversation continue. Meaning materiality and then the addresses, and just that way we can go back and allow staff to go back and take a look at if those had COAs, didn't have COAs. And that way it'd be relevant for just the motion and us moving forward. Don't want to stall this, but I think that being able to clean up the application may help us. And then with some understanding of the materiality, I think that would be very helpful.
Understanding materiality.
The doors that you are looking at that would be referenced in these photos.
Oh, do I have to knock on their door? Do I have to knock on their door and ask them what your door made of?
Well, if you know, then that's great. If you don't know, then that's fine.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. I know that one, because I have knocked on his door before. I know it's not wood.
Okay,
And I know the one next door that I didn't include is, not wood, and I have no idea if they had
Okay.
permission to do it or not, but yeah, I can go down the street and find, it's just a myriad. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
street that has like no real, like,
for sure.
there's not one unique kind of door or even facade of the house. It's kind of a mishmash of that. The townhouses that were built at the same time as my house all started out with this door, but most of them only have one door, which presents fewer problems.
Yeah.
You know, in the whole contraction and expanding and
Of course,
that stuff, yeah.
of course. Well, very helpful. So, we are going to, or we're thinking about, a motion to continue, allow the application to be cleaned up. Some of those questions to be asked, and then I think that we would probably have the ability of being able to help.
Okay.
Kind of be able to vote on it. I just don't want to see it pushed right now, because I don't think that there's enough information for some of the team members that may be in alignment with doing something different. So
So more, you want more pictures?
I think it's more pictures and thoughts on materiality, and then the addresses for those
Okay.
that way the staff can be able to go back and look at the COA
Okay.
and understand those two as well.
Yeah, and if I have COAs, I'll also be able to tell them what materiality the doors are.
Yeah.
Approval.
Because if it was installed without a COA, it's not in your favor. It's not considered a valid.
Yeah, we just,
I have no idea.
we just want
Or
to
not.
help
Well,
Yeah.
get as much
really-
information
Yeah.
for the application to be able to, get it, if that's okay. All right, so is there a motion to continue?
Motion on second there. An application BB 24 06 021 111 Price Ave to continue the application.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion continue. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, moving on to application number 6. This is 721 North High Street. The applicant let me know last week that they are withdrawing the application because they are still working on some additional requests from the business meeting. So we will hopefully see them in July.
Do you need anything from us?
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
but thank you. It's one of those, they withdrew it, so I let them, after some clarification, I let them know that there might be some additional stuff the commissioners also wanted, and confirm that if they would like to be on July, or they
Okay.
need some additional time. So we'll move on to application number 7. This is 332 West Second Avenue. This application is to construct a second floor frame addition over the existing single-story brick addition at the rear of the house, and alter the rear of the house by removing a window and adding a French door. I have added the minutes from the April 10th hearing to the meeting. Commissioners at the business meeting noted that the application looked complete and they needed no additional information. HBO staff has added the 1901, 1921 to 22, and 1922 to 1951 Sanborn maps to the materials, which show that both single-story additions to the property are historic and contributing. And HBO staff supports the addition, but not the proposed alteration to the historic openings. And the applicant also submitted some additional photos of the windows, which they are proposing to replace, as well as, I was gonna say this is fantastic. See, there we go. Screen just blanked out a little bit. And I got this uploaded today. I was gone for the past week, so they submitted last week on Wednesday, so it was one of those, like, you just missed me by a little bit. From a preliminary quick look, it appears that a lot of these windows are old, but they're not original. The ones that do look a little bit older appear to have a little bit more of decay. I did not get a lot of time to kind of look over these in detail. Though, and just to note, it's not on the agenda as noting that the doors and windows would be replaced, but it was part of their original application. So if the commission is comfortable with the last minute look at the materials and voting on them, staff's okay with that, but if we would like to do a site visit or any additional work, I'm okay as well, as long as the applicants are okay with that. My original recommendation was to approve the application with the condition that the historic opening is retained, and basis for recommendation, City Code 3116.11, these standards for alteration. as well as City Code 3116.12, the standards for new construction and the Victorian Village guidelines on new construction. And Sean, I'll let you swear in.
Okay, thank you. Can you gentlemen state your names and get you sworn in?
Yeah, Dean Burlong.
Steve Hurd?
You both agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
All right.
Yeah, so like Kimberly said, we were here, I think in April, talked about this, presented it conceptually, went kind of back and forth on the openings and the scale of the addition and how we stepped it down from the original house. And the general consensus from the commission was that it was a positive direction and changing the openings on the back of that seemed okay. We didn't have talk about the windows at that point, but then our client does want to replace those windows. And so we're happy to set up if a lot of them are replacements, as Kimberly said. And so I'm happy to meet with staff and we could walk through, look at that if you guys are okay with that, or we could bring it back. So it's just really up to you guys. So.
Okay. So what you're thinking is that the doors and windows can be pulled out of advancing the application today?
Yeah, they could be if we need be. So especially since when I sent that, I didn't know you were out. So I think you guys didn't get a chance to see it. So.
Okay. Kimberly, is that an option of being able to just kind of pull that out? Would you feel comfortable pulling it after the application?
I would be if we want to kind of split it and continue that part.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure before we got too far. Okay.
Yeah, the rest of it has been vetted, so I think.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to just turn over to commissioner comments and see if there's anything related to, I'm gonna say item A, which is going to be, the overall project itself minus the windows. And there was discussion on, the overall composition. I think everything's been addressed. I think the one thing about the opening is just, I think it was the timing. I think that it was its location, if it resolved the facade, et cetera, that was kind of talked through. And so it seemed like everybody still was hopeful from the conceptual.
Yep.
Any additional thoughts? Okay, and then item B, I think, which would be the replacement of the windows, should I say windows and doors, or should I just say windows?
Let's say windows and doors just to cover it.
Okay.
And then I guess if you guys are comfortable, and we're happy to do this with Kimberly, and if it could be a staff review item, that'd be great. But, or if you want a subcommittee, I don't know how you guys are handling windows now. So.
Kimberly, and I mean, would most likely with that, if it was a product, like you guys would do your evaluation of them. I think that's the issue though, is I think for consistency's sake, we want to make sure that you guys get your evaluation done. We take those steps, so then that way, and then once your evaluation is done, you can offer a recommendation. So I think I would like to just try, just because of the sensitivity to that on other properties, I would like to just try to take A and just kind of, or B, and just slide it, let it do its own thing for a second, but let's get clarity. Let them do what they do, and then let's come back.
Oh, sure.
That's okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, if it's something that I do the site visit and determine that they can all be replaced, I can let you know, business meeting, we have a forum that can always be moved to the
That's
back.
correct.
That's great. Okay, yeah. So,
Yeah, because I think in this case, there are some that are clearly made on somebody's circular saw.
Understandable. Okay, that's very helpful. All right, so, so is there a motion for item A, which is, the application as submitted minus the replacement of the doors and windows that were noted in the application?
Motion for maybe 2406-023-332 West Second Avenue. This is part A, as submitted.
Is there a second?
Minus the windows.
Well, B's.
Yeah, B would be the,
B's.
thanks, Melinda, but B is, okay. Is there a second? Second. Perfect. Any further discussion? Anything that you're gonna need, Kimberly?
I do not believe so.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so item A passes. Item B, is there a motion to continue the replacement of the doors and windows?
Yeah, motion for BB 2706-24. Geez, we.
Jump a few years ahead here.
Done, he's sticking around.
For 332 West Second Avenue. B in continuation of window and door discussion.
Awesome. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That's good.
That's great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking it through.
Yeah, and I'll reach out as early as I can to the site visits.
It sounds, I'm sure you're small, so we'll figure it out.
And it's, nobody lives there. We have
The
access.
next business meeting.
Okay, that's perfect. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, rolling right along to application number 8. This is 938 Hunter Avenue, and this application is to remove the existing cedar shingle siding, replace it with jaded party with a 7-inch steel and the cedar mill color, plus the trim would be the Arctic white party to be around windows and doors that weren't recently replaced. Corner boards will be Arctic white, standard doors and or standard windows and door heads and sill flashings, new standard mounting blocks. The commissioners at the business meeting suggested a larger test area to evaluate the original siding conditions submitted. Commissioners noted that going back to the cedar siding or dimensions of the original siding, which is typically a board deal, were their typical requirements for siding replacement, but noted that before they could consider replacement, they had to evaluate if the existing or the original siding could be restored. HBO staff conducted a site visit, and from the test patch, it did appear that the original wood siding is in good condition. Staff would recommend either repairing or replacing the cedar siding or restoration of the original siding. Window trim on a portion of the building has been replaced without approval, and the applicant is working with staff to resolve the work already completed. And I will note that there's a couple of communications that I've got in my queue that I need to get back to him regarding that topic as well. So staff does recommend continuing the application to allow for the applicant to conduct a test patch in another area to verify the condition of the original siding. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11, the standards for alteration, and the Victorian Village guidelines on siding.
Perfect, thank you. Can you state your name, sir, repeat this morning?
Yeah, Lee Mueller,
Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Perfect. So any thoughts on the application and some of the things that kind of outlined like you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, so I've owned the house for however long at this point, multiple years. And I mean, the siding was in bad shape when I got it, and it's the cedar siding that's on there. But probably 3 or 4 contractors come out. Nobody has said it's salvageable in any capacity. I mean, I have paint falling off, like light leaks in my house, which I thought would get fixed when we did the windows this spring. Still getting light leaks around some of that stuff. And it's, typically when it rains from the west, which unfortunately happens quite a bit. So, done my diligence, looked through various siding providers and just trying to find a siding provider where I can, put an economical investment onto the house. And, from the renderings and stuff that Ideal Siding had put together, who's been the most economical provider that I could find. It looks very similar to other homes on the street. As to the condition of the siding underneath, I think that would be an unknown to me, but just, I guess, really coming to the commission to look for a solution in some capacity as to how it could be done. Like even this picture here, you can see that every whatever it would be, 16 inches throughout the house, there's going to be holes because at some point there was insulation put in. So that's going to make salvaging it very challenging, is what I've been told. So I'm open to suggestions. And I mean, I guess I want to put up new siding so my house isn't leaking on the inside, and anything that we could do would be great. I had the last quote I had to put up new cedar siding was about 1.5 years ago, and it was almost $90,000.
Awesome. All right, so you're probably going to hear a lot about consistency, I'm presuming, just thinking about it, because there are some steps, just given the sensitivity to, re-siding and things of that nature in the neighborhood because of the character. So you're probably going to start to hear some of those things. So
Sure.
Just from past applications and things like that. So I'll just turn it over to the commission. Any thoughts that would help next steps?
Do we have to do rock, paper, scissors? Or
No.
It's painful to me.
Or should we start with Commissioner Hassan?
Easy, the icebreaker, come on.
But we're gonna be out, today, so you all have to get used to this. So what do we want to start talking about? This, if the cedar siding can be saved, if we should go check out the restoration route. Yeah, what's gonna get the conversation started here?
Let's start with the guidelines,
Okay,
which is, right, that it should be replaced in kind with like materials, right? Which would say, in this particular case, cedar, right?
Or siding that's underneath.
Or the siding that's underneath. That's fair. That's all I got. You guys think?
That makes sense. And I think that's been the consistent thing on other projects. In this case, whatever the materiality is on the exterior, sometimes it's asbestos siding, sometimes it's, an asphalt product, sometimes it's vinyl. From that perspective, and there is a series of steps to evaluate, I'm gonna say, the existing siding that's underneath and the appropriateness of it. Sometimes it's a lot worse than, a hole every 16 inches on center, where a whole section has been removed and, that has created an avenue for a siding replacement, right? So I think in this case, I don't think that we have enough to be able to help determine if the replacement is appropriate. I think that's what we're kind of struggling with.
I think we can agree that the cedar needs to be replaced.
That's understandable.
Yeah, but the material below it, whether that needs to be restored or replaced, but one way or another. I mean, even if you were to put hardy board on it, the cedar has to come off. You can't put a third layer of siding on the side.
100% agree.
And that's part of the leaking problem. You're not gonna be able to trace it until you get back.
Sure. And it's my understanding that the siding that's underneath is directly to the stud, so, I think there's a plan to remediate that was submitted when they'll be done during the replacement siding.
So I think staff is recommending that there be a larger test case instead of, the smaller, just to get a better evaluation.
It's gotta come off.
Yeah, it's gonna come off anyway, just start taking it off.
so we do want him to be able to at least tarp it.
Yeah, for sure.
So if, if the siding is what, that it can be kind of mediated in the meantime. So we don't want him taking off the entire siding.
No.
There's a layer of siding underneath it.
Yeah, but I think it's just, I think the other thing too is then thinking about sequencing, right, with your contractor and an understanding, because the last thing we want to do is, I guess expose the structure to risk. That's not what we're recommending, right?
Sure.
So I think, but it's just not enough to understand that evaluation to be able to create the path towards you or your application being voted on. So is there a larger area? Are there larger areas that you can start to gain a better understanding of what the condition of the siding underneath? If that's better than the 90,000 restoration of the existing siding condition.
I mean, I'm willing to rip all the siding off the house right now. I'm in a bad spot, right? I'm in a really bad spot. So I'm willing to rip every single piece of cedar siding I have off and we can look at it then. Like we've had the commission come out for a site walk already. It's like if there's a larger area, let's rip off as much that's needed. I'm fine with that. It's going to be an eyesore for the neighborhood. Like I want to progress this. I know vinyl's not acceptable. Like that's just a non-starter. But if I look at, especially my neighbors, there's hardy everywhere at this point. Like, especially because a lot of the homes have been completely torn down, rebuilt, empty lots that have been built.
Right.
And so when I look at the renderings from my eye, it looks very much like a lot of the neighbors, even some of the homes that haven't been reconstructed. There's a home less than a block that looks almost the exact same way. So I guess I'm open to a solution. Like I want to fix a leak I have in my house. Like that's what I want to do. And I don't want to piecemeal it. I want to pay somebody a reasonable amount to get it done. And so it starts with the contractor. You find a contractor who can do it for a reasonable price and then trying to work backwards from that. Like if you tell me I need to get more of this exposed, like I'll rip it all off tomorrow, that's fine. It's just gonna be an eyesore for the whole neighborhood then for potentially months. And I don't think anybody's looking for that, but if that gets this application moved further, like.
Yeah.
This is my first time ever asking for the meeting, so like,
Sure.
I'm just begging for a path to a solution. That's honestly what that's all I'm asking for. So like, a bigger test patch. I wish we would have known that when we were there the first, like when we already had arranged a site visit. I mean, I can have all the siding taken off. It's just like how big, like there's no guidelines, like you need a 6 foot by 6 foot square, like. This house has been remodeled, I think multiple times, there's, this front room was an addition that looks like it was probably done in the 70s or 80s, I don't know. But like even the cedars, like right there, you can see, I mean, there's been cedar shingles that have been replaced, like the ones between those windows are completely different than the others, like.
Yeah.
I've already got a haphazard, like I tried to paint it, but the siding doesn't wanna take the hue all the same because it's different shingles, like. All I'm looking for is a path forward, and that's what I want, and if I need, and I understand that I'm not getting an approval this week, but if I need to come back every month, that like, however long it takes, like, I just want it to not leak inside my home and I want it to look decent from the exterior, that's all I'm looking for,
We appreciate
and
it.
I want a reasonable price. Sure.
We're gonna help you resolve that today.
Okay,
So could we approve removal of all the cedar, knowing that that's gotta go one way or another? Once it's down, schedule a site visit with either one of two outcomes, either determination that the siding underneath, the original wood siding is in good enough shape that it can be restored, or if the determination is that it can't be, that it's a hardy siding product that matches the exposure of the original wood siding. Meaning like the height of the boards.
yeah,
So you're not going from like a 4-inch board to like a 12-inch board.
and I think that's where what we had submitted is as close a product as they have is, again, my contractor was supposed to come with me, but his wife went into labor like a couple hours ago.
Congratulations, that's awesome. Good reason. So, Kimberly, what would you need, like from standpoint of approval, to help move this forward? The
What's the
larger,
path forward for what I outlined?
yeah,
So the path forward for what you outlined, we could probably approve the removal of the cedar. But in terms of the either or, I wouldn't be comfortable with that because I want drawings for the hardy. Just to make sure, like we've got corner boards, what the window surrounds would be to make sure those details are being contained. And if we could always do a, staff and commissioner site visit if we need to. I'm willing to go back out as well to evaluate.
okay.
Could, while he's in the process of, if he's willing, while they're in the process of removing the siding, could they prepare the hardy drawings?
So they're ready to go.
So they're ready to go if the determination is made that the existing siding cannot be salvaged.
That would be, I think it would be the same continuing or doing that kind of approval. Because that is a pretty big set of drawings to evaluate. And typically that's something the commissioners look at.
Yep.
And I know we all want to help
Sure.
and move this along as well as make sure things are done kind of as they have always been. The balancing can be a little difficult, especially when we've got active leaks.
So it's two pieces. What would the hardy look like and is it gonna be hardy or repairing what's already there?
All right, so we can.
And just can I add one thing into like, just from like a practical standpoint. I'm willing to rip off as much siding or as little, whatever's needed to get the proper evaluation. But keeping in mind, like if we're ripping off a big piece of siding, like I'm paying somebody to do that. And then I potentially have an unknown cost on the back end. And as a homeowner, I'm probably not okay with that. Like I need to, and like, there's just not a contractor who's gonna be like, oh, I can repair, like the council says, hey, you gotta repair the siding that's underneath. Well, nobody's gonna quote that out because nobody knows what underneath looks like at this point yet either. And like, that's where I have a known outcome with where I'm at now. And I mean, looking at that whole, I've had multiple contractors say that's not salvageable.
Have you looked at a contractor who's repaired wood siding before? Just raise that because insulation holes are pretty typical condition of original wood siding, so we see those a lot. Usually they're a pretty easy fix if wood repair is what they do.
But I've had 4 siding companies and, I mean, I've had quotes as high as 90 grand and less than 10, so.
I mean, I think,
I'm trying to land in the middle.
I think if you're good with removing the siding, we are good with that, and that is the step one to do anything anyway, right? It's just then the question is a matter of timing after that and how quickly things can move along, right? So, you're right, we don't know where that's gonna lead us, but, you know, having, it has to come off, and we have to be able to evaluate it, and you have to be able to evaluate it.
Sure.
Right? In order to determine what you're looking at, what a contractor can and can't do, and see whether we're even in agreement about that. So, you know, I think, you know, the fact that you're willing to remove even more than we're asking for is probably smart. If I was in your position, I would want to do the same thing. Again, it's got to come off anyway. You might as well know what you're getting into. So, so we can, you know, we're prepared to approve that removal of the cedar today, but then the rest it's going to have to follow the process in terms of having, you know, have it taken off, have the site visit, and you know, see where that leads us.
Sure. And then there's, just for clarity, there would be a path where we remove it all, and now my house is in disarray for months, years, potentially, until we find a viable solution.
I mean, I don't think that that's the case.
Okay, yeah, that's my only concern, is like, once I have it off, I want to move. Of course, I don't want to, nobody in.
If it's on the time, then it can be on the next meeting, if
Okay.
it's the right deadline.
That's right.
So I don't think this is
That's
one,
not the case.
once it happens, it'll drag out multiple meetings.
Again, the structure, so we don't want to we don't want to hurt the integrity of the structure. So I think the thing that you're going to need from a homeowner's perspective is start to get the conversation going regarding these two paths and being able to be open and talking to your contractor or contractors, depending on what path that may be determined based upon this, because it may not be the same contractor with either path too as well.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So
If someone is if they're a hardy board siding and contractor, they're not gonna be the same people that can restore the wood siding.
Sure.
You might wanna reach out to local landmarks they can give you a list of contractors that would know how to do that. And would probably be more reasonably priced than trying to get someone who doesn't know how to do it.
Okay.
I would recommend that maybe that step happen first of trying to find the contractor that can do the wood restoration work, because that could take a moment. I've run into that myself with trying to get some siding repair done, going off of the landmark list, and availability or even responsiveness is not always great. So, and that's being sensitive to you of your concern of exposing everything and then having to wait around. Like, yes, we can help on our end, but you're still at mercy of the right contractor coming in.
Sure.
In that case, so I would try to, I think, probably expanding that reach of having that qualified restoration type of contractor, try to get that lined up, get some input from them. Then do whether it's a full or selective, larger area of removal, and then figure out where we're at.
Yeah. So, and I would agree with Tim from that perspective, and it's just from the owner security standpoint, just so that way you feel secure. I think today though, we could, I guess we can only offer him the path that he's asking for, which is to potentially, we can do a selective or a full demolition, or full removal or selective removal to allow for the siding or for the existing siding to be evaluated. That's up to the homeowner in terms of the extent of that and when. I don't want to define that, right? And then for the next step was when that's defined and when that timing is right, then we go through the process of having staff and or commission first to be able to review or to be evaluated. So is that
we're approving the full removal as an option, leaving it up to the homeowner for how much they take on and when. Now, under the scenario where the homeowner does not want to remove all of it, should we provide some clarity on how much is the minimal amount necessary for some full evaluation?
I agree. Yeah, that's right. Right. And I think just kind of thinking about this home, as the homeowner has kind of talked about the history of this home. It probably got cited because of additions and things like that. So I think it would be helpful to understand some selected areas
Yeah.
in those kind of varied conditions, right? So in that way you have a kind of a better snapshot too of the condition that the addition is going to be different than the original home, right? You know what I mean?
And there may be so you can see where the path might lead here. There may be a scenario where the addition gets the hardy replacement because it didn't have the wood siding below it, and the existing house gets restored, right? So there may be a hybrid solution where this takes us.
So we don't know what's under the addition.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, and I guess I need to learn more about restoration. I'm happy to, like, so clarity on how much exactly needs to be removed, but then clarity, I guess, on who, I mean, for the right price, anything can be restored, right? Like.
That was my concern about removing everything. You remove everything.
Now,
Somebody tells you it's $100,000 to restore it. We say it's restorable, you gotta restore it, then you're in a pickle.
that's my concern too. So like and so I guess as a homeowner, again, like an unknown cost in today's day and age is a very tough pill to swallow. And that's where I think we're in agreement today that the cedar which is exposed cannot be south. I mean, you run your hand across it, it disintegrates. And if that's the case, my only known outcome in modern materials have come a long way. I'm open to materials like I would prefer a known outcome. That's my preference.
Yeah. I think your known outcome is taking steps forward to be able to allow for an appropriate review of the existing conditions. That's what we're asking for. I'm trying to say it in this manner because I don't want to convince you to do something that is going to jeopardize the integrity of the structure and put you in a bind.
Sure.
I think that's where we're all trying to tiptoe towards. You know what I mean? So I don't know how to say it better than that. I'm trying.
But also the other piece that's not missing here is financial hardship.
That's
is not a
right.
reason for one of your decisions.
Right.
Yeah, we're not allowed to
So
consider
please
the
say
cost of
that.
something
Yes.
in our evaluation.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I would fundamentally disagree with that to an extent.
It's part of our guideline of the city code.
Sure.
Code.
That's
Yeah.
pretty clear for us.
Yeah, they can't evaluate based on financial hardship on the first.
That's a whole other process that you'd have to go through if you came. to
Sure.
that situation.
Understood.
But there is a process for that.
Well, that's what I'm saying, the process.
And then, so I guess I understand that today we will decide how big of an area needs to be exposed. Who is the authority or who is the expert on saying whether it's restorable or not?
Understandable. And I think
Who's the expert in what?
And if we decide any commissioners need to come out.
And then just-
let's hold on for a second. I want to remove us for a second. Okay, I'm gonna remove us for a second. I think I'm gonna give it to Kimberly. I'm gonna let her walk through it a little bit and then leave us out for a second. I think that may put some clarity.
Sure.
Because I think that process is gonna take place with these two.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure these two have a little bit of clarity. So then that way, when it comes back, everybody feels comfortable. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
In terms of clarity, you're wanting like what a recommendation test area is?
Yes, ma'am. And just trying to understand that, and when you come out, what that process is gonna look like, how does that happen as it relates to being able to allow us to have consistency in what we typically do?
Yeah, it's gonna be similar to what the first site visit was. We typically recommend about a 2x2 area of removal. There's certain areas that can see a little bit more damage than others, so we recommend at least 2 or 3 feet off of the ground because the bottom portion can get a lot of water just from splashing off the foundation. So those areas can typically see a little bit more decay than others. So we're thinking about like this area, and we're typically going to recommend somewhere on the side or on the back that if you can't just put the siding back up, that you could cover it in kind of a nondescript area with a tarp or something as a temporary measure so it doesn't introduce water damage into the interior of the house or further damage what has been pulled off. And typically on a site visit, we're looking for, is the wood sound? Is there dry rot? Is there an active decay? What alterations have been done in this case? We can see the insulation holes. But we go through that, and we, as you saw, we kind of talk it over with you. We make some suggestions out of the field, and we typically come back to kind of talk things over and make sure, there's two of us that will go out from an HBO standpoint, and make sure we're both on the same page, that say, I wasn't missing something that Jack would notice, or vice versa.
Does that help a little bit?
Well, I mean, so I've already scheduled a site visit one time, right? And so now I'm a 2 foot by 2 foot area. And then is there a documented list of exactly what you look at? Like, is there standards as to how we determine
Whether the wood is,
restorable or not? Yeah.
yes, we're looking if the majority of the wood that we're seeing is still in good condition. So we'll feel it. Look if there's large missing sections. Just general, like, is it in good condition?
And has it been previously replaced before? Because sometimes you'll get houses that you'll take the siding off and they will have, say, already replaced like half of the side with wood that's not as old.
Kimberly, in this case, since there's clearly an addition that we think is later, would it make sense to do a second sample there?
I think it might, to see if there's any of the original siding underneath there, or say if that cedar is the original siding, and if that cedar is the original siding, the commission will have to determine what the best path forward is for restoration, as well as if you have any additional.
You're gonna need to know what's under that too, to move your, either way forward.
And sometimes, like, say, if the additions, like the cedar siding is original, and the commission's already noted that the cedar siding can be removed. Well, if it can be removed, are you going to match what the original siding is underneath? Or since it's addition, are you going to make that stand out a little bit differently? And the commission is typically good with options. So if you want to explore like option A, matching the dimensions of the original siding and hardy, or option B, doing more of the board and batten kind of vertical look as opposed to horizontal. That would be something the commissioners could look at as well.
So just to summarize what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
1 2 foot by 2 foot section.
Mhm.
Sounds like I can pick the 2 foot by 2 foot section.
Yes.
And the determination to if it's good or not is going to be a person's judgment. There's no documented standard.
So we are historic preservation professionals. This is what we do.
Okay.
That's what we look at. You're also, we encourage you to have someone who restores wood siding and take a look too, give an evaluation.
Sure.
That way you have that backup for yourself, and then they can present anything. If they have any particular recommendations or any findings, you can also include that in your application materials as well. That's always helpful.
I'm not discounting anybody's qualifications. I just want to confirm
Yeah.
a 2 foot by 2 foot area at my discretion. And then somebody is going to come out at their discretion with no documented standards and determine if it's restorable or not. A qualified professional, which I don't know
There are.
how we determine if somebody's.
National standards. I mean, you can look up on the National Park Service's website, the Secretary Interior Standards.
I just couldn't find them on the city's website of any kind. So as a homeowner, again, I'm just looking for a path forward. I'm happy to, I know I'm coming off hard and I'm not trying to. I just want to know exactly what to do so I don't have to come back to 6 straight meetings.
Understandable. So,
Like, are we humidity testing the wood?
no,
I
I think that, I'm just gonna just be clear, just to go ahead and move it today.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say that what I've heard today, I think is 2 by 2s. I think there's one on the existing home, I think there's one on the addition that needs to be, that would allow the conditions of the home to be evaluated.
Okay.
That's the next step. And then that would allow you to go ahead and schedule with staff for that review and that process. I think the dialogue leading up to that time, I think that the staff would be able to help provide guidance. I just don't want to prolong dialogue here that I don't think that we're going to resolve it today. That way, I just think that we just want to go ahead and move it forward for you. and be helpful
No, I
from
appreciate
that
that.
perspective. And at the same time, I think the emphasis on being consistent. I think that's what really all of us are trying to do from that standpoint. So, so those are the two things. So I think we heard two 2x2s, one on the existing portion of the home, one larger or one in the addition, and then being able to schedule for staff is our next step.
On the addition, I'm assuming that if it's immediately obvious that there's something.
Yeah.
You know, that.
Yeah.
2x2.
Right. Right.
2x2 is with the assumption that there
It's
is
something behind.
something behind it.
Okay.
Right.
And 2x2 is our max, and we're not gonna bring a ruler out and like measure, this is exact, so. That way there's some flexibility on your end if say you can only get like a 1.5 by 1, or if it's a little larger or smaller.
Just an approximate. Yeah. I think that's gonna be beneficial for you. And then that way we don't get into the other issues that we talked about in terms of, you know, putting you in a bind, et cetera, you know. Is that fair?
No, so, and if it's determined that there is siding behind there in the two areas we select or the one area we select, then restoration is the only path forward, or would there be?
There's multiple paths,
Okay.
and I think that the staff would be able to help talk that through at the time of that observation.
Okay.
That would help you better prepare what that next application should look like. Because I'm sure that they're gonna have an opinion at that time, and they probably shared a little bit about what they saw, and then when they come and report back, but I'm sure that they would probably give you some insight there that will start to kind of outline maybe what that next application should look like, or your options related to that.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, fair. Thank you.
Anything else, Tim? All right, so is there a motion to continue to allow for further observation or evaluation of the existing?
Motion to continue BB-24-06-024-938 Hunter Avenue to allow time for further evaluation as described.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's continue. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the guidance.
Yes, thank you.
Good luck.
All right, we'll move on to application number 9, but I'm actually going to hand it off to Jacqueline, and I will be back. So, Mr. Hisson, don't leave before I get back. I know, stop.
I have a hard stop at 6.
I know.
They got moved up?
Yes.
Oh,
Will we be back?
they got probably a half an hour at the earliest.
Okay, so I will follow
Okay, but I brought keys for the end of the meeting.
up. Oh.
Maybe you should bring them up then.
We're just done then.
So I would, but I have heard stories from more experienced staff that giving commissioners goodies during the meeting doesn't always go well, so.
I just think
I-
might check out.
See, who the hell am I?
It's like beat us after midnight.
Jeff, we'll give you a report.
Yeah, there you go.
Y'all get distracted, you don't focus on the applicant nearly as much, and I'm not saying you individually, but in previous iterations, it has not done well.
Previous commissioners.
I will follow up with you, I'll try to save some of the goodies.
Beautiful. Thank you.
All right, but it's been a pleasure, Commissioner Hisson.
Thank you. I've enjoyed all 27 years.
Oh, I'm sure, all the ups and downs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so for application 110 West Second Avenue, the request here is for landscaping. So installation of a 13 by 13 foot paver patio and a 13 by 13 foot prefab gazebo structure with a hot tub. That would be below to the rest of the existing deck for that submitted documentation. We'll be installing a new paper or concrete walkway and removing the existing walkway. Installation of the bocce game court. And that bocce court would be constructed out of 2 6x6 foot pressure treated stacked lumber with 24-inch number 5 rebar and 6 feet on the center and a 2x8. The infill would be clean crushed rock and perforated rain pipe and overlay with landscape fabric with the addition of a 3-inch layer of crushed limestone and topping with 1-inch oyster shell blend. There would also be repair of an existing 6-foot privacy fence as necessary, and then a clean and refinish with a cabin black solid exterior wood stain and sealer. So at the business meeting, the commissioners requested product information for the hot tub. They also noted that there would be further discussion about the gazebo during the hearing. The commissioners noted they should discuss if the bocce court is compatible to the property, the open space, the overall environment. So the staff recommendation is to continue application BB 2406025 at 111 West Second Avenue to allow the applicant time to revise the materials that better be in line with existing equipment guidelines. And that recommendation is based on the City Code 30613 standards for site improvements, the Victorian Village guidelines regarding fences and yards. And I think that's it. Actually, Bruce has the details of the appropriate and non-appropriate as far as the fences and yards. So I'll turn it over to the commission.
Thank you. Can you state your name, sir, and get you sworn in?
Thaddeus Jones?
Perfect. Are you going to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. All right, so you were there at the business meeting, so.
Yeah.
So anything that you want to add or just kind of talk through?
No, I think the homeowner's just looking to kind of freshen up the rear yard a little bit, add a couple features. The hot tub is kind of a big thing for him, so he wants it to be covered. And then the bocce court is kind of an added feature that he thought would be kind of nice, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. All right, any thoughts, commissioners? I think that there was just more materiality and things like that that was being talked through. But any concerns or anything that we can offer some feedback, or if there are any concerns still?
My only concern is the gazebo. In the past, the last one of these that came through, we did not approve. Is there a precedent for approving these prefabricated metal gazebos?
They are starting to come up a little bit more. It
Yeah,
seems that
I just
way.
can't think of one we've approved.
Yeah. I think the one that it came up, the site conditions were.
And it had a big, it had like a farm kind
It
of.
did.
There was two different ones.
Is it an
The
outbuilding?
big, farm style stable type thing. And
Yeah.
there was the one that was in a weird position with the steps and then.
It was, yeah.
In either case, they both walked away without getting the the covering.
So this one's a little bit different from that perspective, but
Yes.
so that is a good memory, Melinda, in terms of that.
So if we're approving it, we should be explicit as to why.
Yeah.
Those were denied because of site conditions?
Materials, design, and site conditions.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything.
And we didn't deny them, just to be
No,
clear.
no, not at all.
We gave
It
them
was
feedback on what,
continued and he never-
and they never came back. Okay.
Yeah.
So. Or they just put it in and did that.
No, that else.
Hey, okay, let's get it, bring it back.
Just read that back.
Okay. So any comments related to this that would help the application move forward? Feedback or concerns or a motion?
So I think we're challenged with the materiality of the gazebo.
Okay.
I don't have the code at my fingertips here to say why.
Yeah.
Right, I know it's not right, but I can't cite chapter verse. So that we need to be able to do and get better guidance on, okay, what does this look like, right? We don't see a lot of these.
Yeah.
So
100%. Makes sense.
I think the other thing with something like this, it's a structure, so seeing it in relationship to adjacent structures, seeing, a second, elevation of the house that's next to the house, what is its proximity to the neighbors, or, kind of all that are really the critical things for evaluation of its appropriateness.
Okay.
In addition to material.
That's very consistent in terms of what we evaluated that last time. I think the things that we were able to point out, why looking at those types of drawings allow the homeowner to understand some of the complexities that they were proposing. Not to say that this case is not the same, but it just helps the evaluation.
It's not an umbrella that's covering your hot
Right.
tub. It's actually a structure, which then triggers a whole bunch of
Sure.
other things, so.
Yeah.
Anything else on, I'm gonna say, so we addressed the gazebo, was there anything related to the hot tub? It didn't seem like it was. I think that was just more product data, but that's been offered. And then I think the site plan materiality in terms of the bocce court, is there, any concerns about any of that?
The only comment I have is about the pressure treated wood. We usually are no on the pressure treated.
But it's
This
still
is a,
black.
no, it's stained black here. Okay. Oh, so you have the one, oh, okay.
Kind of give it the.
And what it's for, I agree. I just want to make sure we're not doing anything out of it.
Right.
Yes, of course, yeah.
I mean, you
And you can't
could,
use anything.
you could theoretically do a, just line the inside with wood for that, you know, the bouncing. You know, but
They put stained
Fix it.
black.
my only kind of just observation of the site plan is comment is that the circular area for the fire pit, its relationship to that adjacent walkway is a little awkward. You kind of get some weird, kind of left over spaces. So if this is going towards a continuation, I'm just maybe consider that.
Okay.
Just what that connection is between space A and the adjacent walkway.
Okay.
So is the best path a continuation to allow you to kind of work through those items?
So your request is that I do full elevations of the existing house with the gazebo, but it's.
I don't wanna convey full elevations. I think it's more so a scale relationship of the elements. It doesn't have to have a whole bunch of materiality, from that perspective. I think it's allowing us to understand I'm gonna say the relationship of the mass of the thing against the home.
Okay.
So however you can best communicate that, I
Yeah.
think is just beneficial for us.
Is the elevation of that neighbor where that hot tub is that just a solid wall with no windows? Is there a window right in front of that they're gonna have to look at the structure? Just basic context of where that thing lies.
Okay.
So some images of the adjacency may be helpful too, as well, the property right there too, or a fence, and then just being able to understand the scale of the homeowner's home, I think is what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Okay.
So if I superimpose the image of that gazebo onto some photos, and that's already available.
That's perfect.
Okay, and so as far as the material is concerned, are you gonna approve that, or are we, because I don't want to do that if you're not gonna approve, the steel.
Understandable. I think that these just like new territory for us, to be honest with you,
Okay.
from that perspective. So I think the last conversation, it wasn't necessarily about only the material. It was more about the aesthetic too of what was being offered. I don't know. This one seems to me to be a little bit more fitting than definitely the last one. So I think that us being able to get a better understanding of the context, the existing home, how this thing starts to blend in, the appropriateness of it, the styling of the home, those kinds of things that starts to kind of have some influence on the thing. And not to say that you haven't thought about those, it's just being able to help us guide us through that conversation.
Well, and I was gonna suggest, and you don't have to do this, but it may be beneficial to you, is if there is an alternative, similar style, maybe different material, whatever, that you'd want us to consider that would be acceptable. You may want to come with that in your back pocket or have it presented in in materials so that you can keep things moving and don't have to come back again.
Okay.
Again, you don't have to, but I think that might not be a bad idea.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw out another branch here that just kind of came to my attention. So that existing tree that's there, it appears from the photos that the canopy of that tree is much larger than what's shown on the site plan. So there will be conflict between that tree structure. I think one, just elevation, but two, particularly pouring a concrete pad within that region is going to compromise that tree. So I have some pretty significant concerns with that. So I think, and again, if this moves forward, I would consider different placement of that structure to not compromise that tree.
Okay.
Anything else that you need clarified to help?
You're okay with the black stain on the fence? Is that what I understand? You're understanding that the fence is being stained black, and you're okay with that?
We talked about the
bocce wood.
We didn't talk about.
We didn't talk about
I don't think the bocce court's being stained, I think it's the fence, just the fence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the application, what was only referenced was the repair. I don't think that the paint, I don't, maybe it was.
It said it, yeah, last
Oh,
bullet, well, in the, yeah, right,
Okay.
that was like solid.
But just one side of it? It's
The intention, I think, was to do both sides.
the side that faces your neighbors too.
No issues with stain, but
Right,
is the dark,
Yeah,
that dark color, I don't think there's any. That's not any wood that has solid to it, that seems a little intense. Just trying to think if there are other examples that.
Can you help us with an alternate to that solution? Thank you for pointing that out.
Sure.
I think some of these things are just kind of new for us, you know, from that perspective, so I obviously appreciate you navigating this, so. Yeah, I think an alternate would be helpful for
Okay.
us.
All right.
I think the staining is appropriate, you know what I mean, from that perspective, and I think that the staff, you know, would echo that. But it's just the depth of the color.
Okay.
And, you know, if it got to that point, stain is something that we could pass off to staff.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, we could approve it being stained,
Sure.
Right.
then refer that for
As well as the color,
the appropriate.
as well as the color.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my
So-
gut is that black would probably be too much.
I agree.
Good.
You got it, I think we touched everything.
I think so.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to continue?
Motion on application BB 24 06 025 110 West Second Avenue to continue the application.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let's continue.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, kids, I'm leaving. Good luck.
What's
I
that?
don't want to stay through the rest of the meeting.
You know, I know. I told Kimberly I'm taking this.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure
I
that's
said he'd blow it up. I'm gonna have them on, I might even do my Christmas card, maybe make note cards, I don't know.
Well, Jeff,
Good luck, you guys.
Thank you for your service.
thank you so much for your service.
It's been a ride.
I truly appreciate it. So, thank you.
Always hear good things about it.
Bye, you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Jessica, you won't have to deal with me ever again. That too. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
With the adjourned distance departure, I'm going to move on to application number 10, which is 1029 Hunter Avenue. The proposed work here is to remove existing asphalt siding and to restore the original wood siding underneath, and to construct a new two-story addition on the rear of the house, demolishing a portion of the historic house for its documentation. The addition materials would be hardy plank lap siding. They'd be using Pella Reserve, traditional wood clad double windows, and certainty carriage house shingles and stone gate gray and OG earthy style gutters. So at the business meeting, the commissioners noted that the application was complete and needed no additional information. Staff has additionally added sandboard maps, which help show the location of the historic addition. So staff recommends approval of application BV 2406026 at 1029 Hunter Avenue with the following conditions. And that is that the addition is lower than the height of the original structure, so that it is subservient to be consistent with the city code during construction, and that the historic condition is retained. So the basis for the staff recommendation are the city code 3116.11 standards for alteration. And I think that would also include the standards for construction. And with that, I'll turn over to the commission.
Thank you. Can you state your name, sir, and get you sworn in?
Yes, Kareem Ammer.
Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
Thank you, sir. So I know at the business meeting, you were present. I think I remember, right? Is there anything that you want to kind of talk through related to the application and the thought about staff's recommendation of the historic addition being retained?
Sure. Yeah, just again to provide a bit of context and talk this through since the last time we were here. You know, we were here a few months ago, I believe. Bit of new faces since that. So again, to provide some context, this house as it exists today, it's vacant, distressed, has been for a while. You know, our previous submission showed you know, some pictures of the interior, and while that's not up for consideration, it shows just the true condition of it. It's really a heavy lift to bring this, you know, rather sad house back to life in this neighborhood. Siding that exists today, asphalt shingles. That's not the original siding. We'll be restoring the lap siding underneath. Again, trying to bring back some of that original character into the neighborhood. With this submission, you know, we really cross-referenced all the constructive comments the commissioners gave us at the last hearing. Most notably, I think the one that resonated with us was our last submission, resembled that of a semi-truck. And you know, we took that to heart. And I think architects did a great job with this submission, adding more you know, hips to that addition that are in line with the original house, more of a distinction between old and new, and making that rear porch more sort of in line with the character of the original house. So again, really no gimmicks here, just trying to incorporate the feedback that was given to us to the best of our ability. That condition, I guess, is, you know, new to me to hear. I didn't receive that in the feedback in the email. I guess if we don't mind talking that through, sort of the implications to the design we have today, what that means. So we're asking for the height of the addition to be lower than the historic addition. So essentially that portion in between there in the middle. Or I guess any clarity on that condition, just so I know for certain.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think we can work together to try to understand it. Okay, so that's perfect. Anything else that? Okay. No. All right. Okay, so we're just, so I think there's a couple of things. Just one is just the staff recommendation. I just want to try to get past that one too as well. Just from a timing. I don't remember this one when it was a concept, when it was concept. I don't think that I was present, but I think that's where I'm having a gap. I'm sorry. I don't know if it was talked about during those discussions as far as when it was conceptual or when it first came through in terms of the existing.
I didn't even recognize it until he said he was here, that I was like, oh, I do know this. So this was the one that I think they had it, like, they were gonna do a pool in with it, and that was like.
That was our neighbor.
What's that, the name? Probably I haven't. Okay. Yeah, it was the two side by side.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, gotcha.
So.
Okay. So I just need a little bit of help going through this.
Yeah.
So then, so as far as clarity, I think that what staff's recommendation or at least staff's observation is that, you know, obviously the existing home and a portion of the existing home is more proud or has a stronger stance than the addition. I think that's, so majority of the time it's height, you know, height of the structure itself, roof lines, things of that nature. Maybe the feedback that was offered prior is maybe all of that was kind of taken under one roof line all the way through. So looks like what's been introduced is the interstitial space has stepped down, but then in order for it not to, based upon its overall length, I think I can understand why maybe the gable was kind of flipped to be able to break up a little bit of the mass. So I understand him being responsive to the feedback, so I think we should just try to talk him through any feedback or clarity on that. Any conversation related to just reactions to this new direction of trying to be responsive to us and maybe the staff?
And I think honestly, the roof lines look good.
I agree.
Trying to match the pitch where it makes sense. The connector between the old and the new is stepped down, so you kind of tell that they're separated. And, you know, the new addition, because the size, if it's matching the pitch, it's gonna match the height. Right. So.
I mean, I think it meets. Right. not sure what the concern is, but the hip roof there in the back, that's too high. I mean, is that staff's concern, I guess?
And I know that, there's a prescriptive nature to the guidelines, and then I think applying the guidelines to every home. It starts to navigate that a little bit, so I think that the application is being responsive to that, but I just want, I want to get the head nods right or wrong, through the team, so it seems like it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think also recognize that it's subtle, but the addition is also a narrow bed.
Yeah.
Right. Along the narrow portion of the lot line, so I think there was.
Anyway, I'm looking at that being lower too, it just changes everything.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
The only thing I would say is the left elevation, there's one window that is not aligning with the other ones, even though it's the same height, it wants to go up. So it can align. And I think that's in the laundry room, so I don't know why. And it's a new window, so I don't know why the sill would be lower. I don't know if you know why, or if it accidentally got moved when it was being drawn. Let's see which one.
Right.
So on the left, it's the third, yeah, it's the third one from the left. See, in that connector section, how there's a window that's the same height as the other one, but it's like, I want to push it back up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's still.
because all the other, yeah,
Well, it's both windows then. I mean, the other one's smaller, but
the other one's smaller, so it's okay, but the big one is the same height.
right.
So why is it not the same height that both before?
Mhm.
Especially if it's a new frame of, it should align, and looks like it's in a laundry room, so I don't know why it could.
I'm wondering if that is part of the existing structure and maybe. Is the window you're alluding to part of the existing structure or the addition?
It's the addition, it's that.
It's the hyphen.
Okay,
It's the second floor directly above the air conditioner,
okay. Understood.
right? See the top of that window, well, the whole window is.
So I guess that is in the existing, but on the drawings, it says that's being reframed. And if it's an existing window, it's lower than. Yeah, looking at that side, the window is getting slid over from where it exists now. So if it's being slid over, then the head height should remain the same. If you look at page 20, there's a picture of that facility. Yeah. Is it all the way to the left? See how the head height of the
Yeah, it's the same.
is higher. So maybe there's just a problem with the drawing. But the head height wants to be up.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that back roof, I think, slopes down and that window is lower.
But is that roof being reframed?
Yes, but the window is not being reframed.
Yeah, it is.
It-
On the drawing, it should be.
Oh, because it's shifting. Okay. Jeez. All right.
That's understandable, it's a good observation.
Oh, right. I see. Okay.
So I think that we have the window elevation on the existing. We talked about it does meet the intent of, I guess, stepping down or identifying a sense of separation from the existing standalone home. Do we need to talk about anything else related to the application, siding?
The addition or the historic
The
addition.
historic addition, there we go, thank you. So the historic addition, any thoughts, related to that? I think staff's recommendation is that the historic addition is remained. And is that majority because of the timing of that addition?
Yeah.
If it's historic, then yeah, that would fit with the code practice of retaining historic, things, they might not have been original to the structure, which requires some changes at the time.
I wanted to offer that so that way you could hear it directly from, from staff, from that perspective.
Sure.
So, has that come up in the application before or in dialogue before in terms of the historic addition?
No, it hasn't. you know, I believe as proposed, when you mentioned the historic addition, is that, that section of house we were just talking about?
Yes,
where that
The
window-
one story piece, I think. more
Yeah,
specific.
just a little bit.
Okay, that doesn't exist there on the structure today, I don't believe.
It's in the pictures.
Is
Not,
it?
not the one that's on the 1901 Sanborn, but the,
Well, that's the funny thing. It's like on the earlier Sanborn, but not on the later Sanborn.
Well, there's, yeah, it's like, that's odd.
I don't believe there's just a
Well,
one
the
story.
second Sanborn is the right size, whereas the first one is, it's much deeper than what's currently.
Yeah,
So it looks like it was probably replaced with a porch and then the porch was enclosed.
yeah. So I think if we're looking for
I can see that.
a justification that it's part of the house that has seen a lot of change over the years,
That's right.
I like that.
and that they're keeping, 90%.
Right. Well, and I don't. I mean, in terms of this addition even fitting in with the style of the house that it's on, with the window, the style of the windows and the doors, I mean, it's not even complimenting the building as is,
Yeah.
so. I get us close enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I mean, I think that we're gonna have to say something like that in the motion. You know, I mean, just from that perspective that this allow, just to give staff an understanding of why we're making this determination,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Which is very confused.
Yes, it is.
Does everybody have clarity now, though? This is a big, I don't want to force, you know,
Yeah.
anything on. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Clear.
Okay. So we talked about the addition. The historic addition. We talked about this, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I have one thing to ask, goes back to that window, just again, for consistency.
Yeah.
Right, we're not really infilling a window, but we're moving a window around in the historic part of the structure.
Yes.
So. That,
Well, one is being infilled. There's one being infilled, one being added, basically.
the one, well, which one's being, the one in the back, yeah, okay. And then the one being added, well, I'm talking about the one on the side that.
On the left
is-
side, yeah,
Yeah.
it's being infilled and a new one.
Oh, you're putting those as the same thing. But there's also the elimination of the back window, if you count that, because it would be part of the duration, but.
It won't be visible.
Right, right. So, I mean, that one I can put to the side, but the other one, I'm just like, I just want to make sure we address it.
Yeah. And when I looked at the drawings, it's called replace. And that's what, like, when I look at the drawing, it says replace. It doesn't say shift. And I guess, I mean, that's the plan. When I look at the plan. Right? And it says, well, that's the cash flow timing, I'm sorry. So that must be.
Well, it says
the ground.
remove.
Yeah, that was the ground floor that I was referring. So the ground floor will stay the same, but it's the second floor window that we were talking about.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Does just look off.
It's because if you kept the window where it is, the long, it screws up the floor plan.
Yeah,
Because the windows are, it's very close to the other.
yeah. So it's getting infilled and a new one put next to it.
Right.
And the other one being.
One could argue that the rhythm looks better with the window relocated overall.
If you just, it'll be fine if you just match the head still like.
Yeah.
That's what's throwing it off.
Yeah.
Just want to push it back.
All right.
We should just do not without eliminating papers.
All right.
All right. So anything else? So we got the historic, we talked through, the scale of the existing versus the new. How did we get here on the siding?
So, yeah, I was just, that was where I was going. The siding. I don't know how we got to this one with the siding, but that was gonna be the thing I was gonna bring up.
Should have never.
But right, it's not. Yeah, we have to do something about that.
Okay. And again, I wasn't here for that first conversation, so I apologize. As far as the siding, in your first application, did you guys talk about siding and siding replacement or?
No, he's restoring. the
They're
siding
restoring.
underneath.
No, the new addition,
Oh, they,
being that it's
different.
still horizontal with a different exposure.
As a way of differentiating the addition from the existing.
Is it enough differentiation, I guess, or is it?
I like this better than, I would say, a board bat, which is just, that's what's trending now.
Yeah,
You wouldn't have started in this neighborhood.
So, I mean, well, you guys are the architect, I mean, that's
No, no.
big enough, this thing.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna ask for clarity. So can you just walk us through, so the existing home, just for all of us, for clarity. The existing home is being restored, right? So the existing siding, so the siding is coming off. There's lap siding that's behind it.
Correct.
That siding is being restored,
Yes.
which is awesome. Okay. Can you talk us or walk us through what's gonna happen on the existing historic portion of the home? I'm sorry, the existing historic addition.
It's not as strong as having new siding.
Correct.
Okay, so again, same location of the windows we had in question.
That's
Yes.
actually,
We're showing that it's proposing new siding is the question,
Yes.
as opposed to the original.
So that is new siding
Mhm.
alongside of the new addition portion of. I think that's the piece.
I think the reason why it's being proposed that way, like by, again, architects, it's a great question. Because when we looked at the existing structure, the pictures, it looks like we're reframing that second story. I'm wondering if, you know, it was more prudent to have new siding rather than restoring the old siding and trying to patch in the new, because it looks like we are essentially adding, you know, to that upper left corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, I believe, what would have been intuitive to our architect, but, you know, we're open to, if there's better suggestions for that.
Okay. That's perfect. And I think that's, I think he's walked through us very clear about the elements. And so I just wanna try to make sure that we take the right steps to get to what this application is proposing and with the existing nature of it. And I think what has been proposed aesthetically, I think it makes sense, but I just want to make sure that we're taking the right steps. That's all.
I'm just paralleling, right, it feels like a very conversation we just had, right?
That's
So,
right, exactly.
you know, if the other guy decided to reframe his house, he doesn't have to worry about what he had to do on the siding.
I'm just trying to be very consistent, yes.
Right, so we're saying, okay, yeah, you can move a window, yeah, you can
Yes, sir.
take the siding.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm not saying it's a problem, I'm just saying, yeah, figure it's something worth considering.
Yes, sir. That's all. We'll try it.
I would be happier if it was the original siding, and then if that can be, I don't know if it can be, but if the reframe part can be made to look like it, I would be happy.
You can still make it exciting.
Yeah. Still give it something.
Get this okay. Okay.
And it would not be minimal, most of this.
Right.
So make that change,
I'm good with that, I think that's workable.
Okay. So I guess the consistency would be just thinking about then everything planned left of the existing home with the historic addition. I think we would be consistent that we're looking at this historic addition as part of, that's all the home.
That's the.
Everything after that is the new addition.
Right.
Right, and I think that will allow us to be more consistent in what we're asking of the applicant. Is that, am I right in saying this?
I agree, yep. I think you are.
Okay. Are you, so from a restoration perspective, you don't really know what's on the back side of that?
Behind the asphalt shingles?
Yes. Have you,
There have been natural instances where we have been able to see behind it. You know, very small windows. There is a chance we go to, you know, take those asphalt shingles off and, you know, there's a mess underneath, but from what we've seen, it looks like pretty restored. I think there was a picture in the last submission. I don't know if I made it to this one, but it looks like it's restorable. And that would, of course, be our intent, to restore to the best of our ability.
okay, right. So if we just keep the restoration attitude towards all of it, and then everything behind that. Is that the right way to do it?
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to talk through?
I don't think so.
Okay. Can someone gonna pull all that, because he has all the product data, he has everything else to be able to move this forward.
So I think it's approval on the condition, the updated drawings or something.
That's right, because he would still have to have them updated for stamping, but.
Yeah.
But at least he would be able to move to that next step, is that fair?
Yep.
Okay, could someone kind of outline a motion, and we'll probably help each other on
Yeah,
some of the conditions?
I'm writing it down, so I'll give it a shot, but let's go through. So siding on that, on the original house.
Including the original edition,
Yeah.
or the existing edition.
Existing. This wording matters, this is the problem. So,
I know.
existing edition, all right.
And the relocated window in the existing condition that is moved upwards so that it's so light. Do we need to outline why the?
Yeah, I think that was it. I think that we just, I think that,
Do we need to explain our reasoning for some of the other things?
I was gonna say, I think it's beneficial to put the reasoning in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
One other,
Yeah, I know, it's have code of guidelines.
one other item that I think need to be provided is, I think I might have asked for this, is rear yard, if there's any sidewalk or anything that is going to be proposed between the garage and the addition to the porch steps. So just making clear that if there's any improvements to the site, yes.
Site landscape.
Change we submitted.
Makes sense.
I just want to ask the question, are we jumping the gun, or is there, like, I feel, it's starting to feel that way a little bit.
I don't think so. They're very simple
Okay.
things.
I'm hopeful that way too as well. I just don't think that the landscaping, there isn't no landscaping that's being proposed, and so if there are improvements, then that has to come back as a separate application.
Sure,
You know.
absolutely, yeah,
Okay,
no issues there.
okay.
So we're saying that we're not approving the landscape.
No,
Yeah.
no, whatever is on the site study right now.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, that makes me feel better, all right. Okay, the reasoning for the demolition of the existing addition to the addition. Or the filled-in porch, or whatever you call
The Belinda had the notion about a lot of
I've
change
seen a lot of changes over the years.
based upon evaluation of the sandboard map.
it. Okay,
And photos. It's been remodeled a number of times.
so just because of the number of changes.
Which would compromise its integrity.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. In fact, just
Just in
Good
time.
timing.
just in time to add that little caveat.
Oh, it's perfect time. Cool.
Height, there's nothing to say there.
No, I think
we're
that
good.
exactly, that's been addressed.
Yeah,
And, you know, from that standpoint, it does.
all right, am I missing anything? Okay. Let's get this a go. All right, motion on application DV 24 06 026 1029 Hunter Avenue. To approve the application as submitted with the following clarifications and justifications. The siding on the existing addition between, I'll call it the pillars here of the house, will be restored to the siding that exists on the original house. If that siding is not there, that'll have to be installed for match, so that the original house stays the original house. In that same part of the original house, the window that is proposed to be relocated on the second floor should be raised such that the height of the sill, the head and the sill match or align with the existing house and the proposed addition. We are not approving any landscaping or site improvements as part of this application. So if those are proposed, those will be submitted separately. We do know that the application includes a demo of a small addition, which appears to be an infill porch. And that addition has changed over the years based on the Sanborn maps and its current condition. And that those number of changes compromises its historic integrity, and that we don't have an issue with that being demolished as part of the work being done. Good.
Awesome.
Good job.
All right, awesome.
Take the hard.
Is there anything else that we're missing to do any of that? Okay.
Sounds good, just a second.
Is there a second? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you for all the support on those. Those are not easy, so thank you.
No. It's fun. It's dialogue.
Yeah, very good.
All right, moving on to application number 11. This is for 23 West Second Avenue, 951 North High Street. This application is to paint 9 separate murals on CMU infill windows. One window measures approximately 108 inches high by 58 inches wide. That's the northmost one. And then the remainder measure approximately 88 inches high by 42 inches wide. Commissioners at the business meeting wanted to know what was planned for the portion of the wall above the brick. They preferred to review items holistically and wanted to know what the whole wall would look like. The applicant has confirmed that no additional work is currently planned for the elevation on 951 North High Street, where the murals are proposed, and they did submit an additional email from Mr. Wood confirming that.
Awesome.
Staff recommends approval of the application with the condition that a long-term maintenance plan is submitted prior to issuance of certificate. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11, standards for alteration, and the short north design guidelines on murals.
Thank you, Kimberly. Can you state your name and get you sworn in?
Jessica Sharon?
Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Perfect. Hey, Jess. Hello.
Good to see you all.
Good to see you as well.
Thank you for
Thank you
staying.
again. Yeah, no doubt. Thank you again. So staff, I think everything is answered now. I think the only thing is just this long-term maintenance plan.
Mhm. Yes.
Any,
No, I think we can submit something. We've done on some of our other mural projects, like a clear coat, which is probably something we could have the artists do. It's pretty easy for them. It's just like literally a clear, either spray paint or just like clear coat, which I think does help prevent some UV washing of the mural. Something like graffiti, we'd probably have to handle on a case by case basis by having like the muralists come back out, but we can sort of put some of that in writing and send it over. I would just want to talk to the artist, but I don't think that should be an issue. If there's something specific that you've seen in the past, that'd be helpful, but if it's just kind of like how we're gonna address some of those things, that's okay with me.
So nothing specific, but
Okay.
it's in the short run design guidelines to have the maintenance plan, so I wanted to be consistent with the guidelines.
Okay.
For that.
Yep.
perfect. Anything
That's
else?
it. That's it.
All right, any thoughts, any concerns? I think everything's been addressed, so, is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll do this one.
Yeah.
Motion to, I'm on the wrong one. Motion to approve BB 2406-02723 West Second Avenue, 951 North High Street, as submitted, but with a written maintenance plan submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
all wrong address.
Both.
Oh,
So he gave both, 23 West Second, not in that.
Nice, okay. Do we don't have to reference anything about the letter. That was already, right, that was the staff's writing, so we're okay. So, no homeowner already, right? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Good to see you again. Tell everybody to say hello.
All right, moving on to our final application, number 12. This is 135 West Second. The addition to the house of some landscaping elements were previously approved as part of COA 22-22-05-04, which was approved June 8th of 2022. The application at hand is to expand the house with 2 additions on the east and south elevation, Landscaping includes planting arborvitae along the east property line, laying a paver patio and installing new fencing, as well as a conceptual new construction of a new single-story two-car garage. Proposed to, I've got it on here, vinyl siding, but I think we had previously discussed hardy with an asphalt shingle roof. I will let the applicant clarify that portion. And a 6-panel man door on the east elevation. Commissioners at the business meeting requested all cut product sheets for the materials, even if previously approved. They want to ensure that the approved material remains consistent. And they also requested a sealed measuring section through of the existing front porch from soffit to ground and needs to be submitted. The applicant did note in regards to that front porch is existing and that there's no additional work being done to it. The application was previously approved, as I noted before, and there's a minor change to the column spacing on the east elevation, which HBO supports the revision for. Staff does recommend splitting the application into A, approving the exterior building modification for the 2 additions, and B, continuation of the landscaping in the garage to allow applicant to submit the cut product sheets and to finalize the designs. Basis for staff recommendation is City Code 3116.11, these standards for alteration, as well as 3116.12, these standards for construction, and City Code 3116.13, the standards for site improvements. And Sean, I'll let you swear in my applicant.
Thank you so much. Can you state your name and get you sworn in?
Hi, I'm Julie Patton.
Do you agree to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so anything that you want to clarify?
No, not, I just bought the house.
Yeah.
And I was understood that the plans had already been pre-approved and that we were ready to go. And I don't have any intention of changing anything that you've already received.
Okay, and then just a little bit, just to make sure that you understood what staff was asking. I think, Kimberly was asking about the garage.
Yes.
And do you remember talking through the garage?
Yes.
Versus the siding? Okay.
Yes, I mean, it'll be compliant with the list, obviously, and match the house.
Okay, so and then any improvements or site improvements as far as the site plan? I know that you mentioned arborvitae and the materials, but I think that they're looking for a plan to be able to evaluate that against.
Okay, I think there's a plan for it shows the paver patio already.
Okay.
And then there isn't much space to add, a tremendous amount of landscaping. So that pink line, I was just gonna add some arborvitae there because the existing apartment is so close. And I was just gonna add some of those tall, thin, something to just create some kind of a natural barrier, but nothing that would obstruct a view of the street. And there is a tree there already that I'm hoping to preserve.
Okay, that's very helpful. All right, so anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, so I think I was asking about the front porch, just gotta think about that. I thought it was being new. So understand, I saw a note, it says rework the existing porch.
Yeah.
And I think the railing is new. There was a section through the railing, so I think we would be remiss with this amount of work being done if we left the porch untouched, at least improved in terms of making sure that it's maintenance and such, but they are doing that. So so I think that's been addressed. So that was one of the comments I think I had at the business meeting.
Okay.
So no issues on the front porch anymore. I think the staff was just offering a thought on the garage because of the clarity of the siding and such like that. And so it makes sense to kind of put that or table that as an item B. I don't know if we really have given any feedback though on the garage to date, and this is the first time we've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So
If the commission would like to do kind of a conceptual review, give that kind of feedback, I think that would be beneficial.
Agreed.
I mean, you did talk a little bit of things over with the applicant, but just to have it on the record of the official meeting.
Okay, all right, so that'll be the garage. And then as far as the clarity of the site plan that's been offered, Kimberly, do you need more? Tim, do you need more? Or is there enough here to just kind of talk through? That would pull that out of item B.
I think we would at least want to know what the paver material is. The point, you know, that existing tree to a just similar to the last application, understanding the drip line canopy of that and interaction with pavers over top of that could compromise the tree. The proximity of the arborvitae to that could compromise that tree. So that'd be helpful to understand just in rough dimension. You show that outline, not just the trunk, but the outline of the tree. And I would also, I think maybe in concert with the review of the garage, there's a gap between where the pavers stop and the garage. So what's the intention to create a connection there? Is just clarification on that would be helpful.
Yes, I mean, my intention is to create a connection there.
So while we're talking about that was the site plan, so it seems like we're going to do item B as far as pulling the garage and the site out. So I think site material, site improvements, I think obviously that's clear now. You know, products, that revising the site plan slightly to address some of Tim's comments.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you, I noticed I'm sorry, the thing, I noticed the fence detail that's shown is that for adding onto existing fence?
No, there's an existing chain link fence that will come down. That's specified later. That's to be.
I still understand.
Yeah, the existing chain link will be taken down, replaced with fencing. I submitted the detail on the fencing.
And so that's just along the one property line where the existing fence is, or all the way around?
Right now, the chain link fence goes all the way around, and my intention is.
Maybe try to clarify that on the plan too, even if it's just highlighting the extents of the fence.
Awesome. So we took care of the site improvements. Can we open up some conversation related to the review of the garage that is new?
Typically, if we encourage 2 one-car doors rather than 1 2-car width door.
Right.
I would also encourage hip roofs rather than gables. To be consistent with the house.
The person, sorry, go ahead. The contractor that submitted the drawings for the garage is not the same person who made the original architectural renderings. And I think that's where the confusion is, and I just kind of needed to submit something to get on the schedule, and I don't think like he realized that he was just giving me just a random, but obviously the garage is intended to match the house, be very consistent with the house and the same materials and everything. So that's it.
Yeah, because there's also a note on the site plan that there ought to be window boxes on the garage, but the garage.
That was a conceptual, yeah, I know. I was telling the contractor that what I kind of originally was hoping for, but, you know. That's what I'm wondering, is it possible to separate this into 2 different projects? Okay, okay.
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take the site improvements in the garage and move it to a B.
Right.
And allow that one to continue, and you can continue to kind of develop that. And then we'll take the house itself and move it to item A.
Okay, yeah.
To let that move forward.
Yeah.
Is the eave dimensional?
On the garage, see, that's what I'm saying. These drawings were just a standard 2-car garage. I don't think that, and I'm actually not using this contractor. I was originally going to, and now I've decided I'm not going to. So I think that it would probably be important to just have a new set of drawings done.
Match.
Yeah, that match the house, that were consistent. These were just like, that's something he did for somebody else. This, you know, I said, I need drawings for the garage, and he submitted this, and now I'm like, yeah, this isn't what we're doing. So.
Cool, awesome. Is there any other feedback that you need from us? I think you understand what we're looking at, trying to accomplish with the review.
Yes, and I want what you want. Yeah, we all want the same thing. I
Okay.
want to, bring it back into its original grandeur. In respect to the garage and the piece of, and the footprint of the lot, I'm almost contemplating a 3-car garage with three separate doors. And if that's the case, then it would kind of fill in that back area. Otherwise, there's just this vacant kind of piece that doesn't really serve a purpose. And especially if I'm gonna have the fence come all the way around the property line, it wouldn't be a place where you could park a car. It would just be kind of an open piece of grass I'd have to, maintain. And in that situation, then I do kind of want to put some windows facing the house with some window boxes that kind of just bring it all together. It's a very small lot. And it just would just look really quaint, I think. So I will have new renderings done of the garage, the landscaping that would reflect all of that.
I would recommend that if you do go towards an increased scale of the garage to support that with some contextual information.
Mhm.
What along that alley, what's next door, what is that?
Take your lot coverage, because there is.
Yep, I will. There's
Understand your logic, but
Yeah.
at some point it starts getting a little too much
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. It is an alley and garage, it's apartments on either behind it, and it's garages to those apartments.
I think to Tim's point, just photographs of those elements are acceptable so that.
Okay.
Whoever's drawing doesn't have to draw everything.
Oh, yeah.
From that perspective too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe your site plan gets expanded just slightly, so you get the site plan that has the 2 homes adjacent to you or the
Okay.
home adjacent to you in
Yeah.
your garage.
Yep.
And then maybe photographs would support
Yep,
that.
I totally will. It just seems like a better use of the space, in my opinion. But yes, I'll get all of that for you.
Okay. So that's item B. And then, so can we go ahead and move forward with item A? Any further dialogue on item A, or is there a motion? Which is just the most
Things you want.
as submitted.
On, not A.
Okay.
No,
I thought it was with the tree and the lamp. No, it was
That's
like.
B.
Yeah. all right.
Yeah, but we're gonna continue.
Well, I'll take this one. Motion on application BV 24 06 028 135 West Second Ave. This is part A, which excludes the site plan and the garage, and it's everything else, as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Perfect. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so item A passed, moving forward. Item B, which is the remainder of the application, which is the garage and the site improvements.
Yes.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion on application BV 24 06 028 part B, 135 West Second Avenue, to continue the with that part of the application is for the site improvements in the garage, for that part of the application to be continued.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. So that part is continued.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Good dialogue. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, so
So I'll be in contact with you if you'd like to be on next month's agenda. You do have a week from today, just so you know, in case I'm a little slow getting feedback.
okay, to get the part B.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you can't get it in a week, we can always aim for it.
Okay. What's the next step now to get your permits?
So I will stamp the drawings, for the additions. I'll issue that COA because that's part of it.
Okay.
I'll send that to you. You take that with your application for downstairs.
Thank you so much.
Anything else?
No, not today.
It was, again, I would have said something about Jeffrey at the end about thank you for his service, but that 27 years is absolutely.
That's great.
So, but I know he stepped away, so we had to at least say something.
Yeah,
To
but
that time.
it's okay. He had originally told me his hard stop was 6:30, so
Yeah.
that was a little bit of a surprise, but
Yeah.
it was good. And then I think, what are you here for? Just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I
I'm so sorry. I'm here for solar panels. I did not know I was supposed to present something. I think we messed some stuff up.
I don't have anything on the agenda for solar panels.
That's okay.
So what address?
1062 Mount Pleasant Avenue.
I believe that might be, is that in the town?
That's the time, I'm saying.
That's the time.
Yeah, that's the time.
So the town's hearing was actually yesterday.
Okay, that is all right. Is it the same type of spiel where like I'll have to like talk about stuff?
Yes, so it's
Okay,
the same
cool.
format.
Okay, I will be prepared for that. Thank you.
And slightly different staff person.
Okay,
That's
well,
more
yeah,
for
that's
that.
fair.
And
But-
if you were on yesterday's agenda, she'll probably be in contact with you next
Okay.
week. She's out of office for a couple of days.
Cool, no worries. Have a good day, everybody.
Take care. All right, so there's a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Very adjourned, man. We don't have to vote on leaving, do we? Like, I never knew, but that's.